All right, picture this. Our MC peaked in kindergarten, his girlfriend on the other hand is a literal genius Ivy League professor. Because of that, every single time he attended those elite high society parties, he got treated exactly like the human equivalent of a dirty welcome mat, totally mocked. They'd openly gossip that if her precious first love hadn't left, he would have never become her pathetic little placeholder boyfriend. Seriously, these rich snobs acted like he didn't even deserve to breathe their air. They actually took sick little bets, predicting that once her white moonlight first love returned, he'd be dumped in under a month. But he never bothered arguing back, mostly because, honestly, he was just waiting for the day she'd finally say, "Let's break up." 5 years later, she actually flaked on their marriage registration date, all to go pick up her precious first love, Chad, from the airport. He silently took this as the ultimate VIP breakup signal she threw his way, so he marched straight into HR, his marriage leave application. Yeah, that doesn't need to be approved anymore. The HR manager looked at him, completely stunned. "What's wrong? Aren't you getting married? Are you guys just changing the date?" He shook his head and replied, "No, it's just me not getting married anymore." Plot twist, right? Get ready for this. He handed the baffled guy another stack of papers. "I've officially applied for the permanent posting over Germany. I'll be shipping out next month." The HR manager was even more shocked now, confirming it with him one more time. "Are you sure you have absolutely no foundation in Germany? Going there is basically hitting the hard reset button on your life." He smiled, his face dead serious. "Top-tier positions domestically are already saturated like a wet sponge. If I want to climb higher, wouldn't I have to start from scratch anyway?" After walking out of the HR office, our guy headed back to his desk, flipped open his files, and worked like his life depended on it. By the time he clocked out, it was already 9 p.m. Stepping into the house, he immediately spotted Stella intensely typing away on her tablet. Her sleeves were casually rolled up, revealing those slender arms. Seeing him return, Stella calmly closed her tablet, looking right at him. "Chad is back in the country. Did you know?" "I know." He looked her straight in the eye with zero panic. "Yesterday, when you were dead drunk, he was the one who dragged you home." Stella froze for a split second, then slightly frowned. Dodging the topic completely, she just simply said, "Chad's birthday is in a few days. He wants to invite you to his party." He just stared at her. "He wants to invite me. Why are you the one delivering the message?" Stella replied in this completely nonchalant tone. "He is currently working at my research institute. I'm just passing the message since it's convenient. We love to see it." The corner of his mouth twitched upwards, flashing pure sarcastic amusement dancing in his eyes. He remembered vividly that 5 years ago, when Chad went abroad, Stella swore up and down that in this lifetime she would absolutely never work with him. Now that the guy is back, it's like those words just magically deleted themselves from her brain. He was too exhausted to dig up ancient history, so he just dropped a simple "got it," swiftly ending this incredibly awkward conversation. A few days later, the very morning of Chad's birthday, Stella was completely missing in action. Meanwhile, let's watch Colin. By noon, he arrives right on time at the venue. Right as he steps up to the private room's door, voices echo from inside. "Total trash talk. Why on earth did you invite Colin? What's the actual point? Can that guy even grasp our vocabulary?" "Exactly. He is just your average undergrad. Everyone sitting in this room went to an elite Ivy League. We are postgrads at minimum." Without Stella dragging him along for pity clout, that loser would never be allowed anywhere near this VIP party. "Hey, sister." Stella, with Chad finally back, "Give it to us straight. Between Chad and Colin, who are you really picking?" Colin freezes. He always knew that Stella's elite social circle never exactly rolled out the red carpet for him. Stella herself was the shining star of the younger generation in the nation's physics field, the youngest professor at a legendary university. Her snobby peers fancied themselves as top-tier intellectuals, they naturally looked down on Colin's basic degree, assuming he was utterly inferior to Chad and completely unworthy of standing by Stella. Honestly, Colin never thought he lacked talent, but purely for the sake of Stella's public reputation. He had always swallowed his pride and took the disrespect silently, but today, oh, our guy doesn't need to endure a single insult anymore. He takes a breath, pushes the heavy door and walks right inside. The whole room sees him, but nobody feels a single ounce of shame for getting caught trash-talking. Instead, they openly sneer, "Oh, little Colin arrived, we were just joking around." Amidst their cruel snickering, Colin smirks back. "It is incredibly funny, actually. I was just wondering if the combined annual salary of every genius in this room even adds up to my 1-month bonus. Where do you guys buy the sheer audacity to act so confident?" Boom. The entire room goes dead silent. They stare in pure shock at the guy who usually swallowed their insults without saying a single word. The face of that loudest trash talker turns a spectacular shade of toxic green, then burning red. Stella glares at him, saying with pure ice, "Colin, this kind of joke isn't funny." Colin stares right back at her. When her friends mocked him, she couldn't care less, but the second he fires back, she immediately steps in to scold him, because at her core, she shares the exact same elitist mindset as these snobs. She also quietly despises his academic roots. She also truly believes he is lesser than Chad. She probably feels like she is doing charity just by dating him. Colin's chest tightens up, then Chad flashes this brilliant, plastic smile, rushing over to play the noble peacemaker. "Oh, come on, guys. Colin has always had a massive temper since we were little kids. Let's not stoop down to his level." This insanely toxic, manipulative vibe is practically giving Colin a massive headache. It is completely suffocating. With his old temper, he probably would have just thrown hands and screamed right at Chad right then and there. But strangely, after making the firm choice to finally drop Stella forever, Colin is just too exhausted to waste breath on this clown. He lets out a cold scoff and casually sits down. Who exactly is trying to bait him here? Seeing that Colin will not even bother to argue back, Chad is the most utterly shocked person in the entire room. After Colin chills for a second, the snobs at the table finally resume their petty chatter. One guy even intentionally raises his voice. "Old Phil, your new topic is a huge national-level project. The research funding alone is tens of millions, not like some guys who just know how to make dirty money." Our main character did not even bother engaging with these clowns anymore. After all, you and I know he would never see their faces again. He looked at Stella. She seemed completely unfazed by those remarks. In the end, his heart still stung for a brief moment. He felt a wave of pathetic sadness for himself. Once the feast began, Chad had barely picked up a piece of spicy chicken wing when Stella frowned and scolded him. "You cannot eat spicy food. Do you want to ruin your stomach?" Stella was a literal genius at work, but a total toddler in daily life. Every big or small chore at their shared home required him to write a sticky note just to remind her. How could a person so utterly oblivious to every mundane detail in the entire world somehow remember every single one of Chad's habits? He already had zero appetite. Now he felt like he could not swallow a single bite. When the party ended, Stella quickly went ahead to foot the bill. They walked ahead while he trailed behind like a shadow. It suddenly dawned on him that right before Chad went abroad, the three of them used to hang out exactly like this. Later, when Chad left the country, he finally got promoted to being Stella's boyfriend. He watched Stella's back from behind, eventually catching up to walk right beside her. He thought he had changed everything, but turns out the second Chad stepped foot back in the country, everything snapped back to factory settings. You seeing this? The three of them reached the hotel entrance. Stella looked directly at Chad seriously and asked, "Is someone coming to pick you up?" Chad nodded, replying, "My older brother is almost here." Right then, a fancy car pulled up to the entrance. The car door swung open, and a little kid lunged forward, hugging Chad. uncle. Happy birthday. Immediately after, the kid spotted Stella and said, affectionately, Auntie, you have not come to visit me in so long. He stood. They're completely frozen. Stella instinctively shot him a glance, but she still lowered her head to ruffle the kid's hair first. Then she softly reminded Chad, text me when you get home safe. Chad nodded at her, then looked at our guy. There was no obvious bragging in his eyes, but it felt like he was screaming at him. See that? This is the bond between me and Stella. Even with a 5-year gap, you are light years away from being able to compete. Watching the car finally drive off, Stella turned her head and said to him, let us go. He paused for a moment before catching up to her pace. Once they both got into the car, Stella finally opened her mouth to explain, I used to be really close with that kid. I did not expect Chad not to tell him that we broke up. Hearing this, he turned to look at her. The car lights were off. He could only see half of her face hidden in the shadows. Even the exposed half gave away absolutely zero expression. He chewed on her explanation for a second and finally just let out a soft chuckle. A misunderstanding is just the kid misunderstanding. Just now, all you needed was one sentence to explain it clearly to the boy. You did not say it then, but now you are explaining it to me. Pretty funny, right? He turned his head and stared out the window. Upon returning home, he headed straight for the study. Since he was moving to Germany, he obviously needed to. All right, so Colin started brushing up on his German. Luckily, he had a solid foundation, making it super easy to pick back up. He didn't even try to hide his study sessions from Stella, but honestly, she never even bothered to ask him. It really seemed like she could not care less about what he was doing. The very next day, that massive hang case finally hit a solid agreement. Colin grabbed the chance to host a slick cocktail party, inviting out quite a few absolute heavy hitters from the finance world. It was a total, massive success, but Colin, he got completely wasted for the very first time. His best friend Lambert shouted, seriously, did nobody stop him? You let him get this utterly destroyed. What are we even supposed to do with him now? The whole crowd just stared. Everyone was totally clueless. Someone mumbled, does Colin even have a girlfriend? Because if not, let's call that girl who has a massive crush on him to help out. Just tell her to drag him home. Lambert clicked his tongue in total, absolute annoyance. He was about to haul Colin out himself when the guy's phone suddenly rang. The caller ID, Stella. Lambert immediately snatched it up, putting her straight on speaker. A harsh voice barked through the phone, Colin, where the hell are you? Why aren't you home yet? Her tone was absolutely freezing. But it confirmed his relationship status. He actually has a girlfriend. Everyone was totally stunned. Lambert just frowned at the sheer, icy chill in her voice. He stepped up. Hey, I'm Lambert. He's completely wasted right now. Could you please come pick him up? The line went absolutely dead silent for a tense second. The woman's voice dropped to sub-zero. Got it, somebody quickly shouted out the bar's address, and she instantly hung up the phone. A few of his coworkers were completely baffled, quietly whispering to each other, man, I haven't heard a single thing about Colin dating anyone all these years. Right. The guy basically lives here. We've never seen anyone pick him up before. Lambert just stared at Colin's heavily flushed, messy face and let out a huge sigh. By the time Stella finally arrived, Colin's buzz had worn off just a little bit. He was slouched on the sofa, completely dazed. Stella marched straight over to him. He just stared up at her, totally blank. Stella quickly, meticulously scanned his entire body from head to toe before dropping a cold question. Was this really necessary? Drinking yourself into a coma over some utterly mindless corporate gig? Colin's brain was totally fried. He instinctively wanted to snap back that yes, it mattered, but feeling her intense irritation, he wisely kept his mouth glued shut. Instead, he weakly tugged her hand, whining like a stubborn toddler. Can we just go home? Stella's chest tightened with a strange, sudden pang. She gave a quick nod at the glaring Lambert and dragged Colin out. The second he hit the passenger seat, he passed out completely cold. Stella subconsciously glanced over at him and realized he was wearing a crisp white shirt under a sharp trench coat today. Her tense eyebrows finally relaxed. Yeah, he looks so much better like this. Way better than that awful, flashy red suit once they got back home. She hauled him straight into the bathroom. Her plan was strictly to sober him up, but Colin suddenly yanked her tie, pulling her down for a sloppy, messy kiss. Raw desire flashed in Stella's eyes, unable to hold back anymore. She grabbed the back of his neck and fiercely kissed him right back. All right, we're jumping straight in. Silence filled the room as Colin just lay there. His mind was completely sober, but his body had absolutely zero strength left to even move. Couldn't even roll over. Stella slowly walked out of the bathroom, maybe because she felt satisfied. Her eyes actually held this rare, tender look. Then her phone rang, seeing it was Chad calling. She picked up instantly. Colin could only hear Chad's totally panicked voice bleeding through the speaker. Stella, I messed up cooking and burned the pot. It is literally on fire. What do I do? Stella's entire expression changed instantly. I am coming over right now. She hung up and immediately went to change. Seeing Colin staring completely blankly at her, she instinctively threw out a lie. Major emergency at the research institute. I need to head out for a bit. Do not wait up for me. Without even caring if Colin bought her lie, she moved like lightning, changed, and rushed straight out. As the front door slammed shut, the entire house plunged right back into a freezing chill. From start to finish, Colin didn't say one single word. He just painfully squeezed his eyes shut. Their lingering, passionate intimacy hadn't even fully faded from the air, yet she couldn't wait to run off and see another guy. Hours felt like seconds until suddenly Colin's own phone started ringing. He picked it up. Caller ID, the exact same guy, Chad. Colin suddenly got this awful gut feeling. You and I both know why. Chad was calling to assert dominance. He let the phone ring a few times, then finally pressed answer. Chad's voice, just dripping with deep affection, echoed right from the other side of the line. Stella, let us make up. You still love me, right? Because all it took was one single call, and you ditched Colin to rush right back to me. He stopped breathing entirely. He gripped his phone so tight it nearly cracked. Stella's slightly hoarse voice came through loud and clear. I really do still love you. The very next second, the call just snapped shut. The freezing light of that phone screen lit up Colin's totally pale, bloodless face. At this exact moment, he didn't know if he should be heartbroken that Stella ditched him without a second of hesitation, just for one single call from Chad Gore, or accept that when Chad was right in front of her, she would always choose him. Stella forgave Chad time and time again. That was what truly shattered our guy's heart. Lying quietly on that bed, Colin remembered something, a bitter memory he thought he had buried a long time ago. It happened the first year Chad went overseas. That same year, Stella won a massive award in the physics community, her first time ever. Colin was absolutely thrilled for her. He bought a bouquet, planning to sneak backstage at the big ceremony to totally surprise her. Instead, he overheard a hushed conversation between Stella and her classmate. Your project with Chad just won grand prize. Are you not going to use this excuse to go abroad and chase him? Do not tell me you actually plan to stay with Colin long term. Seriously, besides his looks, that guy is not worthy of you at all. Stella stayed completely quiet. After an agonizingly long pause, she replied, I will think about it. The very next day, she lied straight to Colin's face. I have to fly out for an academic conference. I will be back in just a week. Even though Colin was officially her boyfriend right then, he simply did not dare to ask, are you going to see Chad? He was terrified because if he asked that question, she might just dump him right there. Our guy could only hide his red eyes and watch this heartbreak. He wished her a safe trip. He somehow endured that week, finally waiting for Stella to return. That day, Stella, a girl who absolutely never touched a drop of alcohol, was totally wasted. She leaned on his shoulder, groggily murmuring, stop the car. Once they pulled over, it was just the two of them left. You won't ever leave me, right? His heart shattered. It hurt so badly that it absolutely defied description. He hugged Stella tight, promising, I will never leave you, once. Those words left his mouth. He clung to that promise for 5 solid years. He always thought he could wait until things finally got better. He honestly just did not expect the breaking point to arrive first. He got tired way too early. At this exact moment, Colin's eyes were completely red. He finally let out a heavy sigh. Stella, I am so sorry. I have to break my promise. I really have to leave now. I don't want your love anymore. Early next morning, Colin hit the office only to find out the massive big boss from Germany was visiting the capital for an inspection today. After wrapping up, the boss suddenly caught a massive burst of inspiration and wanted to hike the Great Wall. As a guy who was about to be transferred to Germany, Colin had zero choice but to tag along. He hiked for agonizing hours, considering himself ridiculously lucky to just reach the halfway point. He sat on the stairs panting like crazy when a water bottle was suddenly just shoved right in front of his face. He looked up. It was Stella. He was absolutely dumbfounded, totally convinced he was hallucinating. Stella unscrewed the cap and fed him a few sips of water. Colin finally snapped back to reality and asked, Why are you here? Stella didn't answer. Instead, she turned to introduce him to the man standing right beside her. This is my boyfriend, Colin. Then she casually introduced the other guy to Colin. This is Phil, a researcher from Shandong. He reached out his hand, forcing a polite smile. Hello, Phil returned a bright, enthusiastic smile. Ah, Miss Stella, so your boyfriend is this handsome. You really scored big time. Oh, right. Where does your boyfriend work? Stella completely froze. Then she just mumbled vaguely, Oh, some small firm somewhere. Colin raised an eyebrow. Just looking at her, he knew exactly what was going on in his head. Stella. Get this, she fundamentally had zero clue about his actual workplace. They had dated for 5 whole years and he hadn't changed jobs once. But to Stella, did it matter? So Colin took it upon himself to fill in the awkward blanks. I work at Dexter and Company. Phil was startled, playfully punching Stella in the arm. Wait, why is your boyfriend being so humble? That is Dexter and Company, one of the big 4 accounting and consulting firms in the entire world. If Dexter is considered a small firm, then there are no big firms left in this country. Stella paused. She shot Colin a highly complex look. Phil, just blissfully ignorant, didn't overthink it. Bursting with hiking energy, he declared, I am going on ahead. You guys hurry up and catch up. Stella hummed in agreement and he marched off, leaving just Colin and Stella walking at a snail's pace. Stella's face was totally tight with tension. Who knows what she was thinking? Colin sighed and just laid it out straight. I work at Dexter Law Firm. I am a fund manager there. I am responsible for major investments and managing our fund-related matters. Stella lowered her eyes, refusing to look at him. Why are you telling me all this? Colin replied calmly. Next time you can introduce me to others like that, not just as your boyfriend. Yeah, we felt that sting. To his name, no, he wasn't just Stella's boyfriend. Our MC had his own life. Stella frowned, looking completely dismissive. Our careers are in 2 totally different fields. How am I supposed to know what Dexter Law Firm even is? He went silent for a quick second, then smiled bitterly. You're right, we really are people from 2 completely different worlds. His bitter smile flashed, then vanished. He immediately looked forward. His boss was waving at him from up ahead. All right. I'll stop talking. I need to go greet my boss. He quickened his pace, taking a few fast steps forward to reach the observation deck. He walked right up next to his boss. The boss playfully glanced at Stella standing behind him and asked, Your girlfriend? Our guy nodded. The boss teasingly asked, Can you actually bear to leave her behind to go off to Germany alone, not bringing her along right at this moment? Stella walked up beside him, calmly staring out at the mountain view. Her facial features were deep and striking, not much different from before. He smiled, faintly, choosing to look away first. He knew Stella didn't understand a single Word of German, so right then and there, he spoke in fluent German to openly. Reply right in front of her face, we are breaking up, by the time they got down from the Great Wall and saw all the bosses off. Watch closely as he turned around. To find only Phil standing there. Phil pointed at a shop Stella went to buy. Water, he nodded. Phil was a total chatterbox. He immediately started striking up a conversation. The second they met, coming to climb the Great Wall was honestly secondary for me this time, mostly. I am here representing the Starlight Universe Pavilion Management, handling the sub-management work and checking on the grand opening for the Aerospace Science and Art Pavilion. This is the massive project your girlfriend has been working on for 5 solid years. It opens tomorrow. You are definitely coming, right? He remembered seeing Stella online, opening the Starlight Universe Pavilion website before. He did not think much of it, simply saying, "She never mentioned this to me. Besides, I have a big meeting tomorrow afternoon. Cannot make it." Phil was totally stunned. He immediately pulled a ticket right out of his pocket and said casually, "She probably just forgot. You are her boyfriend. How can you not be there? You are her guy." He took the ticket with a thoroughly confused expression. Stella finally returned, handing him a bottle of water, and casually asked, "What was Phil just talking to you about?" He instinctively shook his head. "Nothing at all." Early the next morning, he sat on the sofa watching Stella hustle nonstop. The absolute second she woke up, she dug out her custom-made high-end designer suit, the exact one she only wore for major awards. She dressed to the absolute nines, looking like she was about to attend a royal wedding. "I have something to do today. I might be home late." But get this, it was only when she was halfway out the door that she remembered to toss that cold sentence his way. It was glaringly obvious she had zero intention of inviting him to her grand opening. Honestly, the disrespect ceremony. His heart gave a painful squeeze, but he just calmly replied, "Okay. Wishing you a very smooth grand opening today." Stella paused for a tiny fraction of a second. "Wait, how did you know?" But before she could even finish her sentence, her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at it and instantly forgot about their entire conversation. She answered the phone with gentle, doting care. "You are here already, so incredibly fast. I was planning to go pick you up earlier." The freezing cold voice of "You and I know this feeling." Chad's muffled voice echoed, then a heavy front door clicked shut, cutting their conversation dead. Colin just stood there, pulling a crumpled ticket from his pocket. He stared at it forever before finally dialing his assistant. "Cancel my afternoon meeting right now. I have some personal business to handle today, so I am not coming in." By 2 p.m., Colin entered the massive Starlight Pavilion. 5 whole years had passed since his last visit here. The only reason he showed up back then, Stella was confessing her love to Chad, right inside this exact venue. Our guy stood silently among the cheering crowd, and absolutely nobody realized he was there, or that he had single-handedly organized that entire romantic setup himself. So what exactly is happening today? A seriously massive, flashy opening ceremony. Is Stella still the star? As the event kicked off, Colin found a quiet spot. The spotlight hit, and Stella glided straight onto the stage, looking absolutely flawless. Her elegant walk had half the women in the crowd whispering in total awe. Grabbing the microphone from the eager host, Stella finally spoke with serious emotion. "This amazing science and art museum-themed ascension to space is a joint project built by the city of Beijing and the Space Exploration Lab. It is a massive project dedicated to space exploration. I spent 5 years completing this." As she spoke, she locked eyes directly with Chad in the crowd. Suddenly, her voice gained an undeniable layer of absolute tenderness. "I once promised someone very special that we would explore the universe's secrets together. We missed each other for 5 long years. This museum is the reunion gift I made just for him. Chad, thank you so much for coming." The crowd instantly erupted into insane applause. They were totally moved by the romance, but our poor MC, he stood absolutely numb in the chaos, just staring blankly as Stella proudly invited Chad onto the stage. They hugged tightly under the bright spotlights. Colin simply could not stomach another single second of it. He turned around only to find Phil standing right there, looking incredibly awkward about this whole situation. Phil totally forgot those two were still embracing on stage. He looked at Colin, clearly wanting to say something, but our guy just calmly walked right past him, acting like a ghost. He left the massive starlight pavilion, heading straight back to his firm. If Colin had known, he never would have canceled his meeting. Now watch this part closely. After work, he drove home, parking beneath a flickering yellow street lamp, right outside his very own apartment building. He spotted two familiar shadows. Stella and Chad were acting exactly like a honeymoon couple. Oh right, Colin suddenly remembered the apartment Chad moved into after returning abroad. Stella personally found it for him, located right next to her own place. Colin slowly crept closer, catching their voices loud and clear. He heard Chad acting super shy. Thank you for your gift, I absolutely love it. Stella sounded gentle as a summer breeze. As long as you like it, nothing else matters. The two lovebirds slowly strolled toward the building entrance. Saying goodbye, Stella fondly watched him head inside, but Chad suddenly stopped. He bit his lip and quietly said, "It is so late, making you walk me back feels awful. If Colin ever finds out, he will totally throw a massive fit at you." Stella's her eyebrows furrowed slightly. Chad was secretly gloating. Then our hero's cold voice suddenly rang out right behind them. "I don't mind." He stepped out from behind the tree, staring Chad down with absolute dead eyes. "Aren't you two just friends? Walking each other home is no big deal, right?" Chad's face rapidly cycled through green and red. With immense difficulty, he forced a very fake smile. "Right, yeah, I was just overthinking." Only then did our MC look at Stella and walk forward. Stella quickly caught up to him, staying completely dead silent without a single word of explanation. The second he walked through his front door, his buddy Lambert sent him a quick message. "This Friday, we're throwing a massive farewell party for you. You absolutely have to be there." He chuckled softly, then looked up at Stella, asking totally calmly, "I have a get-together this Friday. Do you want to come?" Stella froze, visibly taken aback. This was actually the very first time he had ever invited her to join one of his social gatherings. Combined with his dead calm eyes, a sudden flicker of genuine panic unexpectedly surged in her chest. She subconsciously replied, "Okay, I will go." On the day of the party, he clocked out and hit the venue right on time. His friends immediately surrounded him, completely reluctant to let him leave. "You're going to Germany? It's going to be so hard to see you after this. Man, we really don't want you to leave." He smiled sincerely and replied, "It is fine. Once I build my empire in Germany, I'll fly you all out for your retirement." His best buddy finally broke through his tears to laugh. Lambert then looked toward the entrance, asking in confusion, "Didn't you say your girlfriend was coming too? Where is she?" He was just about to answer when he heard Stella's voice ring out right behind him. "We aren't late, are we?" He turned his head to look, his pupils shrinking. He saw that Stella had indeed arrived, except standing right next to her was Chad. "Stick with me," because everyone stared in absolute shock. Stella, completely unbothered, just casually explained, "Chad heard we're having a get-together. He wanted to join the fun. You guys don't mind, do you?" Our MC smirked. "Obviously we mind, but since Chad was already standing right there, he couldn't exactly kick him out. Don't hold back, everyone." This farewell dinner was insanely agonizing to watch, right in front of his friends. Stella shamelessly scooped rice and picked up food for Chad. She even said, "Here, have the braised pork ribs with potatoes that you love the most." Hey, Lambert finally couldn't hold it back and let out a cold laugh. "Stella, your boyfriend can't reach his favorite dish. Why don't you grab some food for him too?" Hearing that, Stella froze, completely clueless as to where she should even start. Everyone in the room knew exactly why. She fundamentally didn't know Single thing about her own boyfriend's preferences. It's fine, I'll get it myself, he forced an awkward smile and spun the lazy Susan. This meal ended in an incredibly bizarre atmosphere. Lambert, still unwilling to drop it, loudly suggested, "We are full and drunk, why don't we head to the arcade next door and play werewolf?" Our guy was stunned. He knew Lambert was trying to help him win back some face, but tomorrow he and Stella were breaking up anyway. You and I know he was about to decline when he saw Stella instantly nod in agreement. The whole group of people dramatically marched over to the arcade zone. Lambert immediately volunteered to be the game master deals the cards. Everyone closes their eyes. The round starts. Moving incredibly fast. A few rounds in, and the board state becomes absolutely crystal clear. 2 wolves total hiding in the group. Stella is the seer, and she actually sniffs out the first one. Just 1 wolf left. Colin is the witch. He reveals his role and barely survives until the final round. Using his antidote potion, call it pure luck or maybe just absolute destiny. But the game comes down to just 3 players, and you and I know Chad is the last werewolf. Colin looks at Stella. You already checked my identity, right? If we both just vote for Chad, we win this round easily. Chad knows he is completely busted. 0 defense left, but who could have guessed he would actually start whining? Stella, I am not the werewolf, just trust me this once, please. Lambert rolls his eyes hard. All right, let's vote. No surprise, Chad and Colin point directly at each other, both looking straight at Stella. She hesitates for a second, under the heavy stares of everyone in the room. She mutters softly, I vote Colin as the wolf. Colin sits. They're totally stunned, unable to even process it. Suddenly, his best friend lets out a bitter laugh and snaps, are you seriously kidding me right now? What is the point of playing like this? Fine, let's just quit. Yeah, let's just let pure whining flip the entire game board. Called out like that, Chad's eyes immediately turn red. He shoots Stella this pathetic, teary look before scanning everyone else. I don't know exactly what I did to get targeted like this. If you guys hate playing games with me so much, I'll just leave, okay? And with that, he actually bolts right out the door. It's just a game, why blow this so wildly out of proportion? Stella snaps at the group, and then she moves to chase him. Colin instinctively grabs her arm. Don't go. They are completely surrounded by his friends. If Stella just walks out now, where does that leave him? Stella's eyes flicker for a second. It is pretty obvious she realizes the humiliation, but eventually she violently rips her arm away from his grip. This meal is on me, she says with icy politeness. Everyone, please enjoy yourselves. Then, without even a single ounce of hesitation, she turns and leaves. Yep, she still chose to abandon Colin just to go chase after Chad. Colin stares blankly at her retreating back. His heart turns to absolute ice. The whole table falls completely dead silent. Lambert looks incredibly sorry. Man, I am so sorry, Colin. I never expected things to end up like this. Colin snaps back to reality, forcing a tight smile. It's fine. No, you guys were just defending me, but today was supposed to be about sending me off, right? Without them around, we can actually talk freely anyway. Under the neon lights, his eyes are shockingly red. Still, he smiles wide and happily. Raises his glass. Me leaving is a great thing. You guys have to wish me well. Seriously, wish me well. He pauses for a second before choking out, wish me a bright future, hope all my dreams come true. His friends just look at each other, their own eyes quietly turning red now. One by one, they raise their glasses and clink them hard against his. Wishing you a bright future, man. Hope all your dreams come true. Later that night, back at his empty apartment, Colin checks the flight ticket his company bought him. The screen glows. Ticket confirmed, dear Mr. Colin. His flight from Beijing to Germany, flight 17399, would be taking off on schedule at 5:20 p.m. January 24th, 2025. Safe travels. So the day after tomorrow, January 24th, the day our guy would officially walk away from Stella. No more overthinking. he had made his choice and decisively started packing his bags. Right while he packed, Stella walked in, but she didn't breathe a single word about the whole arcade drama earlier, and honestly, he didn't take the initiative to ask. Either Stella stood there, clearly watching him pack up all his bags, but she had absolutely zero reaction. "You keep busy, I'm going to sleep." She clearly didn't care where he was headed. Maybe it was because she felt so incredibly certain he could never actually leave her, acting with such reckless disregard, or maybe, just maybe, even knowing he was leaving, she genuinely didn't give a damn. Later, while finishing up, he suddenly uncovered 2 forgotten blind box theater tickets just sitting there, stuffed inside a bag at the closet's bottom. He remembered these were from a few months back when he and Stella won a lucky raffle outside the theater. They could easily use these tickets to watch a free play. They had promised each other ages ago to go together, but then Chad returned to the country, and suddenly, neither of them remembered that promise anymore. Holding the ticket up, he turned to call out to Stella. "Let's go use this ticket tomorrow." Stella just casually replied, "Sure." He carefully put the ticket away, placing it right in the most obvious spot on their table. After watching this play, there would truly be nothing tying them together anymore. Watch this, guys. The next day they arrived at the theater. Coincidentally, the stage was performing an adaptation of Eileen Chang's classic Red Rose, White Rose. The most iconic scene here is the male lead's huge monologue claiming that every man has 2 women in his life. Marry a red rose, and that red becomes just mosquito blood on the wall, while the white remains the perfect bright moonlight by the bed. Marry a white rose, and thus white becomes just a grain of leftover rice on a shirt, while the red is the cinnabar mole permanently branded on your heart. Watching this scene, our guy became totally engrossed, his eyes actually getting a little damp. He couldn't help but draw heavy parallels to his own life. Chad was Stella's white rose, pure and completely beautiful. And he couldn't help but glance over at Stella, only to discover that in the pitch-black theater, she was intensely laser-focused on desperately replying to text messages on her phone. On that glowing screen, the name Chad stabbed right into his heart. "What are you doing? I'm so bored. Can you come over and keep me company?" "I'll be right there." Stella rapidly typed out her reply, then, acting as if sensing something, she looked up and met his totally deadpan face. She asked, confused, "What's wrong? Is the play not good?" He shook his head and simply said, "It's nothing," looking back at the stage, telling himself that maybe he really wasn't even worth being that mosquito blood on the wall. His heart throbbed with absolute pain. He felt like an absolute joke, a literal tragicomedy. Right after the play ended, they followed the crowd to the theater exit, him knowing full well the reason she was rushing to leave was because of that summons from nearby. He still honestly couldn't stop himself from speaking up. "Let's go home and eat. I bought a lot of dishes you love." But Stella coldly cut him off without a single shred of hesitation. "I can't. I have something to do. It's just one meal. It won't take up too much of your time." "All right, let's watch this unfold." He tried so desperately to make her stay for one meal with her, hoping to properly end things, but Stella wasn't having it. Her eyes were cold and indifferent, just like every other normal day over the past 5 years. No difference whatsoever. She literally said, "Next time, just wait until I am totally free and I will definitely go." And in that exact moment, our guy finally let her go. Like he always did, he simply said goodbye. He stood there, watching Stella turn around and walk away, hurriedly hailing a taxi and vanishing into the streets. He just whispered softly to himself, "There won't be a next time." Once Stella was gone, Colin scheduled a moving service directly to his door. Right on time, he sent the clothes he could not take to Germany straight to his parents. Then, he gathered all their couple photos, all those matching items, packed them up, and tossed them right into the trash pile. Before leaving for good, he grabbed sticky notes for one final parting gift for Stella. By the time he put that pen down, the whole room was Practically covered in yellow sticky notes, he stared at them, 5 whole years of his life recorded on every single one of these little notes, leaving behind cold, physical evidence that he truly loved her. But Stella's love for him was exactly like those notes, glanced at once, casually ripped off, and then thrown out. This right here was the very last time he would ever love her. There was only one sticky note remaining. On it, he wrote his final words, "Stella, happy break up." He took that final note and slapped it right onto her iPad screen. It was over. He grabbed his heavy luggage and walked out of the house he had called home for 5 years. The heavy click of the door shut behind him, leaving 0 echoes. Stella wouldn't have noticed this loss at all initially, but she actually had. One habit: she had installed security cameras inside their house, and honestly, she genuinely just acted on pure instinct, checking to see what he was doing at home. Well, the exact moment she opened that camera feed, the reality of their final breakup hit her right in the face. Instantly, her entire body went totally rigid, acting as if she had been struck by actual lightning. Her mind went completely blank, totally devoid of all thought. Meanwhile, Chad was sitting right beside her. This guy had used a fake lab problem as a cheap excuse to lure her over, but instead he found Stella's soul practically leaving her body. Chad was already feeling incredibly uneasy, but now seeing her expression darken so fast just from checking her phone, he grew even more anxious. He could only awkwardly ask her, "Did something happen?" Stella gave 0 explanation. She just hurriedly stood up to leave, but the sheer panic was written plain as day across her face. This was an expression that he had never seen in the entire 10 years he had known her. Let's just stop here for today. The next steps. With your skill level, you should easily be able to handle it. Chad's intuition screamed that this panic had something to do with Colin, so he did not want to lose out. He tried his absolute best, begging, "Did something happen to Colin? He can handle things just fine alone. You do not need to be in a frantic rush. You and I know back then she might have actually sat right back down, but now she had literally just seen that final message and lost all her rationality. How could she possibly sit down in peace? Nope." Stella truly did not say a single word. She just grabbed her coat outside the lab and bolted. Chad could not stop her from leaving. His own face darkened. Instantly, time just froze. A long while passed before he finally made that call. "Can you investigate something for me?" Then we see Stella frantically rushing out. She called Colin's number over and over, but it just kept saying "out of coverage area." On the surface, her facial expression did not even seem to change much. If you really knew her, you would notice her lips were pressed tightly. Her hands were locked into shaking fists. She was giving off this overwhelming, unprecedented sense of pure panic, and that panic held on until she finally reached home, then completely exploded. Stella just stared blankly, stepping right into Colin's totally empty house. It was now completely covered in yellow sticky notes. The fading sunlight spilling from the balcony gave those little yellow notes this really tragic, almost desolate vibe. Stella opened her mouth. She wanted to call out Colin's name, but she knew it was totally pointless. He was already gone, only the items right in front of her were the final pieces he left behind. She read every single one, taking in his handwriting. Her heart just suddenly flared up with this intense, sharp pain. It was way more suffocating than anything she felt all those years ago, back when she heard the news that Chad was leaving the country. Way worse. For the first time ever, Stella realized some things were just completely out of her control. Then boom, an idea sparked in her head. She suddenly remembered Dexter Law Firm, the place he always talked about. She frantically searched for the address online and literally sprinted over there. But since she definitely did not have any appointment, the receptionist stopped her right at the entrance of Dexter Law Firm. "I am Colin's girlfriend. I have urgent business with him. Could you please help me reach him?" Her palms were completely drenched in sweat. After dropping that line, she suddenly grew incredibly tense. The receptionist, though, she just stared back in utter confusion. "You are Mr. Colin's girlfriend, and yet You still need me to page him. Stella was totally stunned. She could barely formulate an answer, just as she was floundering in pure panic. Colin's own boss casually walked up right behind her. He gently tapped Stella on the shoulder, signaling for her to follow. She chased after him in such a panic. She did not even wait before asking him, "Do you remember me? We actually met once before." Oh, the boss definitely remembered her, but he also fully remembered Colin's cold attitude back then, so he just smiled, saying, "You will not find him here at the firm." Stella completely froze up, quickly asking, "Then has he already gone abroad? Is he coming back?" The boss did not hesitate for even a second. Yes, Stella practically turned to solid stone. It took a long minute before she could finally choke out two words. "Going abroad." The boss nodded, his expression remaining painfully calm, but his next words hit her straight like heavy, stray bullets, shredding right through her heart. "You really did not know he applied to be transferred to Germany an entire month ago." Hearing that, Stella's face instantly turned totally pale. "A month ago. You and I know exactly when Chad returned to this country." So ever since Chad came back, Colin was already actively packing up to leave her forever. Realizing this brutal truth, Stella felt this horrible, twisted sensation, just a crushing weight pressing on her chest, making it impossible to breathe. "He never discussed this with me." She barely got halfway through that sentence before looking up. The boss is just watching her like some entertaining soap opera. Instantly, she felt a huge wave of sheer humiliation. "Right, I understand, thank you." She forced the words out so stiffly, she turned on her heel and marched away. The boss just stared, watched her go for a long time, eyes full of pity. Then he looked down and texted Colin, "Hey, your girlfriend came to the company looking for you today. Seems like she is ready to chase you all the way to Germany." Hitting send. He suddenly remembered Colin was currently on an airplane and definitely could not reply anyway, only getting half the juicy gossip. The boss just shrugged it off as nothing and walked away. "All right, let us check in on Stella," heading home, absolutely fuming. Was it those weird looks from everyone at the Dexter office, or the fact that Colin said absolutely nothing before ruthlessly cutting ties with her? She felt insanely frustrated. Right now, seeing this entire house full of sticky notes only made her blood boil. Writing all this just to ease your own guilt, is that it, Colin? I am not letting you just unilaterally dump me like this." Stella ground her teeth, violently tearing down every single sticky note and crushing them hard in her hands. The harsh friction between the rough paper and her palms stung, but she held on tight, furiously hurling them right into the trash. Out of sight, out of mind. Then her phone rang. Stella hurriedly snatched it up, but it was not Colin calling. A massive wave of disappointment hit hard, but she quickly answered anyway. "You asked me to track down Colin's flight number. Well, I found it. I also tracked down his sponsoring company's location over in Germany." The second Stella got that address, an uncontrollable wave of joy surged from deep within her. "When I get back home, I am treating you to a huge dinner." Saying that, she scrambled to book a flight, but her good friend hesitated and asked, "Look, these things are just minor favors, but I really need to ask you one thing. What exactly is going through your head right now?" Chad is finally back home, and Colin voluntarily broke off the relationship with you. "Is this not a total God-given opportunity for you? Why do you still want to track Colin down?" Her friend's voice grew dead serious. "Please do not tell me you actually fell in love with him." Stella flinched slightly. Tiny spark flared inside her heart, but it vanished way too fast. Before she could even process it, it was gone, so she just tried her absolute best to suppress that feeling, replying coldly, "No, I am just finding him to demand a clear explanation. Even if we actually break up, there needs to be a reason. Do I look like someone he can just toss aside whenever he feels like it? We all see it." Stella was way too close to the drama, but her friend, listening on the other end, was sharp enough to catch that intense dissatisfaction and bitter anger in her voice. Even years ago, when Chad completely dumped her, she did not have nearly The massive emotional swings she was having right now, but obviously she could not point that out right now. Instead, she just vaguely muttered, "Yeah, got it. Wells, you go do your thing. I will not bother you anymore," after hanging up. The phone. Stella sat in silence for a second, then dialed someone else. As soon as the line connected, her tone shifted completely. "Chad, I have something to tell you. Flight officially booked." Stella grabbed her things and hurriedly rushed to the airport. Lab staff member suddenly called Stella and asked, "Hey, our project is nearing its final stages. Why are you suddenly taking off on leave right now?" Stella grips the steering wheel tightly. Her voice is calm, leaving zero room for any debate. "I have urgent business. It won't take long. Honestly, if things go smoothly, I could be back tomorrow." The person on the phone goes totally quiet before whispering, "Chad came all the way back just to build his career for you, the way he has been treating you lately. I refuse to believe you are completely blind to it." But inside Stella's mind, pure annoyance flares up. Suddenly, her voice loses absolutely all of its former politeness. "This is my business," the very clear message. "I am leaving regardless." "Well, if that is it, I have nothing left to say." Click. Call dropped. Stella frowns hard. Now you and I are finally seeing her realize just how badly her friends have been completely ostracizing our guy. It is wild. These people literally insult him right to her face with blatant disrespect, heavily favoring Chad behind closed doors where she could not see. How much trash did they talk? What exactly did they do? Stella grinds her teeth and slams the gas pedal down hard. Now arriving at the international airport, crowds speaking dozens of languages from every corner of the planet, all merging at this massive transit hub before heading to totally separate destinations. Stella wanders for a solid while before she finally finds her correct gate. Sitting in the lounge, she is honestly feeling incredibly anxious right now. Her mind automatically pictures the heavy confrontation coming up in 12 hours. She lands in Germany and our boy is right there. She will absolutely demand answers first. Even if they are breaking up, why can they not just end things face to face? Plus, they have not fought in 5 years. Things were perfectly stable. We have to wonder, why on earth did he break up? If it is just because of Chad, that is a massive headache, because deep down she still totally has strong feelings for him. Wait a second, did he not promise to stay forever? It has only been 5 years. How could he just break his word? Stella feels her mind completely spinning out of control. Even she has not realized her attitude just flipped from pure anger right into desperate ways to beg him to stay. Suddenly, her phone alarm starts blaring, completely startling her. Stella physically jumps and, running purely on nervous panic reflex, she hits reject. She takes a deep breath, but then the exact same call comes back again. Now she finally answers, super hesitant. "Are you calling just to talk me out of flying over there?" Stella sounds incredibly exhausted right now, almost drained completely, but Chad stays wonderfully gentle. It honestly feels like no matter what disaster happens around her, to him, it is just a tiny little inconvenience. Stella used to believe this calm vibe was absolutely perfect for her, but now it is just making her incredibly annoyed. "Stella, I am not trying to stop you. I want to share the harsh truth. Do you not want to know the real reason he dumped you?" Stella grips that phone so hard, barely forcing out a single word. "Why?" Chad just casually chuckles through the phone speaker, a dark laugh totally dripping with secrets. "Because between his own future and you, he picked his future, Stella. This Germany trip is a massive golden opportunity for him. If he does his time over there and returns, he becomes the top boss. Now we have to ask, why go completely out of your way to ruin his future?" Listen up. Chad's words hit like a sledgehammer, completely shattering Stella's chronically rose-tinted view of the world into jagged little pieces. She gaped, desperately wanting to deny everything, but then the boss's revelation echoed back. He applied for the Germany transfer a whole month ago, so it wasn't because Chad showed up that he dumped her. Truth is, he had already made the choice to walk away. Chad's return, pure coincidence, finally realizing. This, Stella squeezed her eyes shut in pure agony, right in that split second, an earth-shattering wave of pure fury completely consumed her. She slammed the phone down, sitting in the airport like an absolutely soulless statue, totally paralyzed. That is, until the airport's final boarding announcement blared. The cabin doors close in 15 minutes. All passengers, please board immediately. Only then did Stella finally snap back to reality. At that exact moment, that plane ticket in her hand felt utterly laughable. She forced a bitter smile, grabbed her bags, and marched straight toward the airport service counter, her expression locked behind a terrifyingly thick layer of ice. I need to process a ticket refund, she demanded. Meanwhile, 10 hours of flying later, his legs felt like absolute jelly as he finally stepped off the plane. Luckily for our guy, the German branch manager was already waiting for him right outside the arrival gates. Wasting no time, she picked him up and headed for the staff dorms. Our company is still in the startup phase here, so please bear with us. The dorm conditions definitely cannot compete with back home. She chatted with him while driving. Hi, my English name is Fiona. My Chinese name is Kuk Ti Jiao. Even though I am ethnically Chinese, my Chinese really isn't that great. You will have to teach me from now on. Fiona spoke fluent German. But the exact second she pronounced her Chinese name, she completely stumbled over the words. Chinese, he asked, instantly feeling like he had met a fellow compatriot far from home. He could not help but check her out a few more times. Wearing a camel-colored trench coat, she looked incredibly tall with long legs when she helped him carry his luggage. Her effortless lifting motion revealed pale, slender arms, and right now she drove with just one hand, the car window cracked open, letting the crisp wind mess up her hair, which honestly just added a touch of effortless cool. Fiona glanced at him through the rearview mirror, smirking in total amusement. What are you staring at? He felt burned by that confident smile and quickly looked away. Nothing. He had literally never met a woman this boldly confident and unapologetic, but many people back home were never this openly genuine. On the surface, sure, they acted familiar, but they always kept a low profile, so low that it basically bordered on totally fake. So a sudden flicker of intrigue danced across his heart, flashing briefly before fading away. Upon arriving at the law firm dorms, Fiona actually thoughtfully helped him carry his bags upstairs, meticulously checking the running water, electricity, and the overall furniture in the room before finally getting ready to leave. If you need anything, just come find me in room 304. Fiona set the keys down and gave him one final piece of advice before opening the door. Always remember to check the peephole before you open your door. You are new to this floor, and a lot of folks live here. There will definitely be quite a few neighbors very curious about you. He nodded, taking her advice entirely to heart. Only then did Fiona turn and leave. Shutting the door behind her, our guy finally lets out a massive sigh of relief. Even though that woman was just a law firm employee, being totally alone in a room with a strange woman still made him feel incredibly awkward. Now that she was out, he finally had the mental space to carefully inspect the room where he'd be living for the next few years. Compared to his old house, this place felt way more like a hotel, a 40-square-meter room with only the most basic furniture. Other than that, absolutely nothing at all, and yet he collapsed onto the bed, his eyes heavy with pure exhaustion. Now he finally had the time to pull out his phone and get online. He read the boss's text and fell completely silent. Stella was coming to find him. He seriously doubted the chances of that actually happening. Deep down, he honestly did not believe it. But a totally undeniable hope kept him waiting night after night, until 48 hours had completely ticked by. He lay on the bed laughing at his own stupidity. How did things even get here? You and I both know he was lying to himself. It felt terrible. He didn't care anymore. He was getting ready for sleep when the phone buzzed in his hand. He He checked it, only to see that Chad had just posted a brand new update, went around in a massive circle, but the one by his side is still her, accompanied by a picture, a photo of two hands. Fully intertwined, he took one single look and instantly recognized that it was Stella's hand. In that exact moment, a sharp pain felt like a knife carving his chest. The heartbreak surged inch by inch, spreading everywhere. He literally couldn't breathe. Right at all, he had mentally prepared himself ages ago, maybe after he left. Stella would actually get together with Chad, but he never expected he would only be gone for 3 days, and they were already dating. This exact photo was like a gunshot straight to his heart. He lay on the bed, covering his eyes with his arm. Before his eyes, there was only pitch black. A long time passed, and a single tear slid down his face. He honestly did not want to hurt over Stella anymore, but he simply could not stop remembering those past 5 years. To make Stella forget about Chad time and time again, he did things he absolutely despised doing. If she wanted to hit the library to read in the winter, he would wake up insanely early to visit the university library and save a seat for her. Beijing in the winter is completely desolate and freezing, and there he was, wrapped in a thick down jacket, still freezing his butt off. He heard Stella's lab needed investment. They were just a bunch of college students, even with super high academic credentials acting as a foundation. Those rich investors still could not resist throwing a few sour mocking comments their way. He knew it, so he met each of them totally privately to test the waters first. All of this he never once told Stella. He just felt that if you like someone, you should just step up. If he told her, she might only develop entirely unnecessary feelings for him purely out of gratitude. He only wanted Stella's true love. He didn't want her gratitude. What an absolute joke. He did so much and got neither gratitude nor true love. His nose stung. Overwhelming emotions surged up again, dragging him down into the abyss. This is the last time, he repeatedly promised himself. This is the very last time he suffers for Stella. 3 years later, stick with me. Today he wore a sharp black trench coat, rocked a clean haircut, and stood all right. Look at Colin, tall, imposing. The second he walks in, he grabs absolutely everyone's attention, but he just ignores the stares, marching straight into the boss's office. Waiting inside is the big boss of the German branch. Seeing our guy appear, a rare smile actually breaks through his normally completely rigid face. "You're here," Colin greets him, grabbing a seat to sit down. "How is that application going?" The manager chuckles softly, pulling a thick document right out of a cabinet. "It's done. Your transfer back to the domestic branch, officially approved and ready to go. You leave in 3 days. Once you are back home, you jump straight into being the #2 guy over there. How about that? Consider it a massive promotion." "Right?" Colin finally lets out a light laugh, stepping forward to take the official document. After making sure there are 0 errors, the heavy tension between his brows eases significantly. He spent 3 absolutely grueling years single-handedly building up the German branch of Dexter into what it is today. Dexter definitely had to give me a promotion to keep me, he jokes, super rare for him. The manager doesn't mind chatting for a few more minutes before letting him go. Stepping out of the office, he runs right into Fiona. Over 3 years, her Chinese has genuinely improved by leaps and bounds. "How did it go?" Colin waves the folder in his hand. "Going home," he smiles warmly, though there is a tiny hint of reluctance mixed in. Fiona is genuinely, sincerely happy for him, but at the exact same time she feels an unspeakable sense of loss. "So, we won't be seeing each other anymore after this?" He gently pats Fiona's shoulder, replying casually, "It is totally fine. Worst case scenario, you can always move to China for work. When you do, I will take you to climb the Great Wall." He says it casually, without much serious thought behind it at all. Let's be real, Fiona's entire family lives in Germany. Chinese, usually. Colin is the only guy around who understands what she is trying to say, but now she thinks about it very seriously, then nods and says, "That Sounds good. He assumes she means climbing the Great Wall, so he really doesn't think much about it, turning right around and walking away. Only Fiona remains, standing there, staring intensely at his retreating back. Fast forward 3 days later, Colin lands safely in Beijing. Wearing dark sunglasses, he calmly walks forward. Just behind him, a woman in a camel-colored trench coat brushes right past. The distance between them, barely 5 meters. Wait for it, Stella suddenly stops dead. Flicker of pure confusion flashes across her face, and she suddenly whips her head completely around. Behind the massive, bustling flow of the crowd, everyone has a direction to go, except there is no familiar silhouette of Colin anywhere. Stella scans the area, a bizarre, indescribable feeling rising deep in her chest. Stella, what is wrong? Her colleague asks curiously. Stella shakes her head, hiding all her swirling emotions, replying coldly, "It is nothing, just thought I saw someone." Then she calmly continues walking forward until she finally boards her plane. A very strain fluctuation ripples right through her heart. It has been 3 years. Why is she suddenly thinking of Colin? Was the pain he caused not deep enough yet? Stella closes her eyes, locking away all the emotions buried deep inside. 3 years ago, he chose to break up with her for the sake of his future. She never chased him, nor did she even say a word, tacitly accepting the bitter breakup between them. She thought it would go exactly like her breakup with Chad. She would feel miserable for a few days and it would fade, but a week after their breakup, she was still thinking about Colin. Even a full month later, she was still thinking about him. While eating, she remembered the exact dishes he cooked. Waking up, she missed having him sleeping right by her side. Whenever her black and white clothes bled together in the wash, she would instantly miss his constant nagging. Without her realizing, her entire life had become completely flooded with his presence, but he had walked away. Stella felt she had to keep her dignity, so she tried her absolute best to endure it, refusing to look for him. But the longing just grew heavier and heavier, nearly crushing her entirely. Only then did she finally realize, way too late, she had actually fallen for him. But by then, Colin was already long gone from her life. Stella snapped her eyes open. Her chest felt tight, suffocating. She stared out the window, taking in the whole city, but she knew this place didn't have him anymore. Meanwhile, on the third day after returning to the country, Colin officially started his new job. The boss at Dexter was still his direct superior. The two of them collaborated as smoothly as ever. Colin stared at the contract in front of him, suddenly falling completely silent. His boss just sighed, ready to pull his hand back. "I know you want absolutely nothing to do with Stella now, but for this project, currently in the country, her team is the only one qualified for us. If it's honestly too awkward for you, I can swap somebody else in." Colin frowned, holding down the contract with one hand. "No need, since I chose to return to the gunning tree. I've already prepared myself to face her." Seeing his boss's dead serious expression, Colin just chuckled. "When is the meeting?" his boss quickly replied. "Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Colin nodded, turning to leave. He wasn't hesitating at all. He was totally ready for this. Yes, the future always held the chance of them crossing paths again. If he actively avoided her, it would just make her look down on him. Besides, she probably had a stable romantic life by now. Who knows, maybe she was already married. Why should he even care? He comforted himself with those thoughts, forcibly pushing down his own messy emotions. "Now you and I are at the club." He took a deep breath and pushed it wide open. His heart was hammering so hard it threatened to jump out of his chest. He nervously scanned the room, but he didn't see Stella anywhere. Instead, there were only unfamiliar faces. A man approached, taking the initiative to greet him with a polite smile. "I'm the person in charge of this division at the lab. No need to be formal, just call me Little Wang." He was about 25 or 26, but he spoke and acted with mature professionalism. Colin didn't say a single word, just smiled and slowly sat down. The moment he did, he heard Little Wang say, "Our boss is almost here. Please wait a moment." It's fine, Colin replied. His hands were completely sweaty. Right as Wang finished speaking, the door behind Colin suddenly swung open. Little Wang immediately stood up to welcome their professor. Colin's whole body went rigid, but the voice coming from behind him wasn't Stella's. "You're the person in charge from Dexter." Colin stared blankly at the face of the new arrival. A completely unfamiliar face, the heart that had been suspended high up in his chest suddenly plummeted, but hidden within that massive drop was an indescribable sense of loss. "Hello, I'm Colin." He extended his hand amiably. The newcomer quickly shook his hand and Phil quickly offered an excuse. "Sorry about this. Stella went abroad a few days ago. She isn't back yet, so today I'm taking full charge here." Colin had absolutely zero objections. He gestured for Phil to sit, smoothly entering the negotiation phase. "But between you and me," Colin's mind was spinning. Did Stella actually leave the country for work, or was she actively hiding from him? By the time the baseline details were locked in and Colin received the signed contract, Phil finally cracked a smile. "Business is settled. Now we can just sit down and actually talk, right?" Colin froze, taking a really hard look at the guy. Only then did Colin ask, "Wait, are you Phil?" Phil nodded hard, his tense face completely relaxing. "I thought you were mad, pretending you just did know me." Colin just laughed. "Sorry about that. It has been way too long. My memory is pretty fuzzy. Plus, you completely skipped introducing yourself earlier." Phil looked totally helpless too. A heavy silence hung in the room. Then he finally spoke. "Back then, didn't I invite you to that grand opening? Days later, I heard you and Stella completely ended things, so Phil trailed off." Colin instantly understood. Phil thought he had somehow triggered their nasty breakup, which meant he felt insanely guilty. Colin just laughed to ease the tension. "Look, this has nothing to do with you. Even if you were never there, I was already dumping Stella a few days later regardless." Phil completely froze, opening his mouth to speak, but ultimately kept quiet. Colin didn't dwell on the drama though. He just walked out first. Meanwhile, little Wang had overheard this massive secret. He was absolutely horrified. His pupils shook as he trailed behind Phil, whispering, "Wait, is that the professor's ex-boyfriend?" Colin. Phil just gave a simple yeah, and little Wang could not stop marveling. "I always wondered how someone like Professor Stella could get so insanely drunk and brokenhearted over some romance. Turns out Colin is just that handsome." Phil was totally lost in his own thoughts. Right, he never expected that someone like Stella, after getting wasted, would scream Colin's name all night long, pissing Chad off so much he basically died of pure rage. Then the next day, act completely normal, just going to work like nothing happened. 3 whole years, and Stella hasn't had one guy by her side. Was she actually still waiting for Colin? Thinking about this, Phil's eyes suddenly lit up. He bolted after Colin, stopping him right at the main door. Looking at him like he was crazy, Colin asked, "Do you need something else?" Phil was out of breath, mostly just from sheer nerves. "Listen, Stella has been totally single all these years." That sudden reveal totally startled Colin. He just instinctively asked, "Wait, she isn't with Chad?" Phil frowned, immediately firing back. "How could she be with Chad right after the big breakup? Chad moved abroad. At least from my perspective, those two are totally innocent together." Colin couldn't help but frown at that. He certainly hadn't forgotten that suspicious photo Chad posted way back. Did Stella just break up with him again, or did Chad actually dump her a second time? Colin started overthinking things a bit too deep, but he quickly snapped right back to reality. He honestly couldn't help but mentally slap himself. "You and I know, whoever Stella dates now, what does it have to do with him?" Realizing this, Colin's face turned completely, dangerously icy. Stella's life and his were completely severed a long time ago. Whether she and Chad are actually together now, that's her choice. He didn't care. After Colin finished speaking so coldly, Phil's expression totally shifted, but Colin didn't care at all. He gave a quick nod and was just about to turn and walk away, but then, next second, he came right face to face with the freezing cold glare of the woman Standing right behind him, Stella, his ex, they hadn't seen each other in 3 years. Colin's eyes trembled. You can actually feel the tension. Words got stuck in his throat. He couldn't speak. 3 years apart, and the moment he saw Stella again, he felt absolutely no distance between them. Seriously, it was like our guy hadn't forgotten her for a single day of those 3 years. Realizing that, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. He still hadn't let go. Even so, the current Colin refused to let his emotions show. "Long time no see," he said blandly. His voice was completely dead. It honestly sounded exactly like running into a total stranger, not even a friend, but Stella's face was pure ice. Who knows if she even heard him? She just gave a curt nod. Her gaze swept right past Colin, locking straight onto Phil behind him. And this time, it was a brutal warning, basically telling him, "You completely crossed the line." Phil choked up. He had absolutely no choice but to awkwardly change the subject. "Didn't you say you wouldn't make it back in time?" Stella gave an she said calmly. "It took way less time than expected, so I came to check things out." Colin just raised an eyebrow, totally silent. Then he opened his mouth and said, "You two catch up. I have work to handle, so I will be going now." Stella stayed silent, standing perfectly rigid. Then Colin walked right past her and left, but behind him, he heard her say coldly to Phil, "Never mention my business to irrelevant people again." Colin's footsteps faltered. Irrelevant. A bitter, self-mocking smile crept onto his face, and he just kept walking. Stella heard him hesitate, and her expression finally turned completely to ice. Even the air around her seemed to suddenly drop in temperature. Phil could easily see she was just faking it. He let out a cold laugh. "Keep acting tough. Wait until Colin gets a brand new girlfriend. We will see where you cry then." Stella subconsciously twisted that ring on her finger. She stood completely frozen, not even bothering to look his way. "Didn't you hear him? He already said he does not care about me, so aren't I the irrelevant one here?" Phil dropped his attitude. He honestly had nothing else to say. "Fine, suit yourself." He stormed off, angry, but after taking a few steps, he suddenly stopped. "When I first met you, you were completely different. Otherwise, I never would have jumped ship to join your lab. But listen closely. For this massive Dexter case, we are the only ones who can partner up. But since we picked Dexter for your principals, you need to leave your personal drama out of it, or you will seriously regret this." After dropping that truth bomb, Phil walked away. Stella stood there with a cold face, suddenly feeling totally exhausted. You see, she was abroad, found out Colin had this case, and rushed her entire schedule, intentionally flying back. But why? What was the point? Stella fell into a rare silence. Her heart was a complete mess, but she had absolutely no clue where to even begin untangling it. Meanwhile, let's watch Colin. He took the contract back to the law firm. He just sat there staring blankly at the documents, but his "All right, stick with me here." Colin zoned out on his documents. Then, a knock. It was his assistant, Brother Sung. The German branch just sent a new transfer. "Want to come meet them?" Colin frowned. He had not received a single heads-up about any random new hires dropping in. Confused, he made sure not to let it show. He stood up and followed him out. Hitting the main lobby, he instantly recognized a familiar female voice. "Hello everyone, I am your new colleague. My name is Fiona. My Chinese is pretty bad." Colin completely froze. Pure, absolute joy suddenly warmed his heart. He watched this gorgeous woman surrounded by the staff, and just had to laugh. "Fiona, why do you always use that exact same opening line to chat with Chinese locals?" Hearing his voice, Fiona quickly spun around, grinning from ear to ear. Clearly, she remembered that exact same moment she first approached him, pulling the whole bad Chinese routine. "Am I wrong? I really did not speak it. Honestly, if you had not taught me yourself, I absolutely would have needed a full-time translator for this trip." Two incredibly cute dimples framed her smiling face. Colin was seriously dazzled for a split second by her glowing energy. Snapping back to reality, he noticed every single guy in the Room was completely obsessed, staring right at her. He offered a helpless smile. And finally broke the silence. Come to my office. Let us get out of here, he turned to lead the way, and Fiona happily trailed right behind him. But behind them now you and I know what the whole crowd was thinking. Look at Colin. Does this gorgeous girl like him? Duh, chasing him all the way across the world from Germany to here. If that is not love, what is? Seriously, Colin is just a massive player. Winning over stunning women is an absolute breeze. For him, Brother Sung loudly cleared his throat, shooting daggers at the gossiping group to zip it. All right, enough drama for today. Back to work. Naturally, the crowd finally scattered, but Sung totally peeked toward the office too, his own gossipy instincts burning hot. Meanwhile, safe inside the main office, Colin poured a fresh cup for Fiona. Here, drink up, make yourself totally at home. This premium Longjing is great, she nodded. Taking a very careful sip, she said. Honestly, not bad at all. You really need to visit China for the good stuff, Colin just chuckled warmly, his eyes full of genuine comfort. Listen to yourself. If you never claimed your Chinese was awful, everybody would assume you were a straight-up native. So Director Fiona, how is it? Well, I am ethnically Chinese anyway. I just grew up overseas. Obviously, I know that. He then leaned in. Why did you randomly decide to transfer here? Did you not get a promotion back in Germany? Fiona placed her cup down, tracing the edge with her finger. Wait, did you not tell me to come work in China? Were you actually just joking? Colin cracked up his mind, recalling the day he left. He knew he was just being super polite back then. But she literally took it to heart. This adorable little misunderstanding was honestly kind of wild. He sighed softly, then cautiously asked her, what about your parents? Are they cool with you moving to China? Did you not mention they were getting older and slowing down their work schedules? Fiona nodded, quietly looking up with super calm eyes. I told them I wanted to move to China. No objections at all. They just hoped I could visit our family hometown and snap a few pictures for them. Hearing that, Colin finally relaxed. He casually asked, need some help finding your hometown? He asked. Fiona nodded enthusiastically, replying in her slightly clunky Chinese, of course, if you don't help me, I won't ever find the way. He chuckled at that. So, where exactly is your hometown? Fiona thought for a second, pulling an old photograph from her bag. Number 303 Happiness Street, Beijing. His hand violently jerked. He almost dropped his teacup completely. He asked in absolute shock, say that again. That is right. This time she practically enunciated every single syllable. He repeated, number 303 Happiness Street, Beijing City area. This time he heard it loud and clear. His face showed a mix of absolute joy and sheer shock. He asked her, do you know where I lived when I was a kid? Fiona just shook her head. He broke into a huge smile, enunciating clearly, I lived at number 302 Happiness Street. Fiona's eyes went incredibly wide, brimming with total astonishment, mixed with just a tiny hint of disappointment. What a shame. I moved abroad at age 1. My memories of China are totally gone. Hearing you say that, maybe we even met when we were kids. Our MC nodded thoughtfully. Very possible, but you know, when you went abroad, I was only 3. I have absolutely zero memory of you either. Fiona let out a soft sigh and helplessly tossed the whole subject to the back of her mind. All right, leaving this to you. Right now, we really have something way more important to do. She raised an eyebrow playfully. He asked curiously, what is that? He watched Fiona instantly get super hyped. Someone promised that after work they would take me out for good food. He was stunned, looking at her radiant smile. His heart was unexpectedly infected by her pure joy. He couldn't help but smile too. All right, it's a deal. Right after work we go. 6 p.m. Exactly 6 p.m. Fiona appeared right on time at his office door. She didn't rush him. She just stared unblinkingly with a massive look of pure anticipation. How could he dare work overtime? He shut down his computer and clocked out on the dot. Let's go, taking you for Peking. Duck, you and I both know it is rare for our guy to play host, so Naturally, he brought her to a super famous restaurant in Beijing. He originally planned to book a private room, but this girl absolutely insisted on experiencing real, authentic Beijing culture. Sitting out in the main hall, he obviously had zero objections. It was just that previously, when he brought Stella here, she always complained it was way too noisy, so they got a private room every single time. He had gotten totally used to walking straight into private rooms, but honestly, he enjoyed lively atmospheres. He loved hanging out with friends, and Fiona was exactly his perfect vibe. After ordering, Fiona still looked like she wanted more food. What a shame it was just the two of them. He seriously wanted to order everything on the menu. He smiled, looking at her. It is fine, I will bring you here again next time. Fiona's eyes lit up brightly. Really? She asked in disbelief, a hint of hesitation creeping into her voice. Don't do what you did last time. Don't just say things casually, I'll take it seriously. He froze. He hadn't realized Fiona, who always seemed so carefree, was actually incredibly observant. This time he felt a bit guilty, so he nodded solemnly and replied, really, as long as I am free. Only then did Fiona smile in pure satisfaction, just as the dishes were. All right, you and I are watching this closely. Fiona genuinely loves eating. She completely demolishes every single plate, as the guy paying for it, watching her huge appetite actually makes Colin laugh. It is wild. Whenever he is with her, our guy feels completely at ease, whether they are abroad or back home. He is genuinely happy around her. Totally stuffed, Colin smiles, stands right up, and heads over to settle the bill. Fiona doesn't even fake politeness. She just waves, rubs her full stomach, and laughs. You go ahead, I need a breather for a minute. Colin watches her dramatic little display with a helpless smile, and then walks alone toward the cashier. After paying up, he heads back to the table, but wait, Fiona is completely gone. Checking his phone, Colin realizes she just ran to the restroom, so our guy casually sits back down. Suddenly, a very familiar voice drifts down from right above him. He looks up. It is Stella and Phil, decked out in business suits, clearly busy discussing some corporate contract. Instantly, Colin's inner warning radar goes off. Is she seriously thinking about changing business partners just because of him? Stella takes one look at Colin and reads his mind completely, because she guesses his thoughts instantly. Her expression turns cold. Just a normal lunch, Colin says. Don't overthink it. I was just starving, he explains awkwardly. I am just waiting for Fiona to return, then we're leaving. If there's nothing else, I'll be on my way. Now, hearing that, pure unease immediately surges through Stella's chest, especially when she spots those bowls and chopsticks left on the table, obviously meant for two. Her jealousy hits its absolute boiling point. She cannot hold back, aggressively brushing right past Colin to grab his arm. We finally meet again, and you have absolutely nothing to say. Hearing that, Colin reacts instantly, his face dropping into a heavy scowl. Didn't I already tell you? Stella completely loses it, her normally hidden emotions suddenly spilling out for everyone to see. Does long time no see count as talking to you? Colin immediately furrows his brows. Total annoyance is written all over his face now. Other than work stuff, I mean, besides strictly business, we have zero reason to even speak anymore. Catching his drift, Stella's face turns completely rigid in shock. She tightly clenches her fists, entirely speechless. Honestly, this restaurant is definitely not a place for drama. As you and I can see, quite a few diners are staring right at them. Phil sighs heavily, reminding her someone is still waiting for us. That finally snaps Stella back to reality, loosening her tight grip. A dark red mark is already bruised into Colin's hand. Suit yourself, she mutters coldly, turning around to leave. But right then, she spots a woman walking straight toward Colin, speaking in fluent German. I'm ready, let's go. Fiona glances at Stella, asking curiously, do you actually know her? Colin replies flatly, just a casual acquaintance. Let's just go. Saying that, he prepares to leave with Fiona. Stella might not understand German, but she definitely isn't blind. She can clearly see the close dynamic between Colin and This new woman, acquaintance, suddenly, Phil's old warning violently echoes right inside her head. How can you be so sure Colin hasn't found a new girlfriend? In that split second, pure jealousy takes over. Let's see what happens next. Stella fiercely grabs his hand again, asking word by word, "Who is she?" Colin is stunned. He forces down his anger, violently prying Stella's rigid fingers right off him. He works out constantly, so his raw strength easily overpowers Stella, who spends her entire life doing basic scientific research. So even though Stella's face flushes a bright red, Stella had absolutely zero choice but to reluctantly back off. "If you want to talk, speak properly, keep your hands off me." His broken Chinese completely froze Stella in place. Foreigner Fiona was visibly irritated. She gently told him, "Let me handle this." Then she shot Stella an absolute ice-cold glare. "What exactly do you want here?" Honestly, Stella was asking herself that exact same question. It's just that her mind was an absolute mess, failing to form one coherent thought. Phil, who had been watching this whole drama unfold, finally couldn't resist jumping in. "Is this the girlfriend you met overseas?" He really only meant that as a harmless joke. He definitely never expected it to be real. Our guy instinctively wanted to deny it, but then he met Stella's bottomless dark eyes. For some wild reason, he just lied. Yes, Phil completely froze up too, giving him a super complicated look, saying nothing. On the flip side, Stella, hearing that single word, looked totally devastated, her eyes instantly filled with bloodshot veins, just absolutely struck with sheer disbelief. "You have a girlfriend?" He was totally caught off guard by her sudden question. He forced a smile and fired right back at Stella. "Did you honestly think that after we broke up, I was somehow obligated to stay single just for you?" Hearing those exact words, Stella looked like she got violently bashed over the head. She opened her mouth but found it filled with nothing but pure bitterness. "That is enough." He shot her a seriously annoyed glare. "It has been 3 years. You can date Chad, but I cannot move on." He grabbed Fiona by the hand and just walked straight away, right to her face. Stella stood there completely frozen for ages, feeling as if her very own heart had been brutally punctured, a pain so utterly agonizing she did not want to live anymore. Her complexion gradually turned paler and paler, seeing this heavy situation. Phil could only awkwardly pat her shoulder. He told her sincerely, "Since things are already exactly like this, maybe you both should just look forward." Right after saying that, he walked right inside. He kept quiet, knowing Stella's stubborn personality. She would definitely figure it out soon. Sure enough, Stella quickly forced down her messy emotions. All that remained was a fierce patch of blood red in her eyes. She stubbornly stared in the exact direction he left, carrying an almost indescribable heavy sense of obsession. Meanwhile, our guy practically dragged Fiona out of that restaurant by her hand. His mind was fully scrambling, so he barely even realized what he was doing. He just kept tightly holding her hand until they hit the underground parking garage, where he finally let go. Fiona's heart also secretly gave a super gentle flutter at the sudden release of his tight grip. They both got into the car, and for a moment nobody spoke. He honestly had no clue how to start chatting, and Fiona did not want to break this heavy, quiet atmosphere. "Phew," he looked at Fiona totally seriously. "Sorry, I completely took advantage of you back there." Fiona just tried playing dumb, letting out an "oh." Everyone was speaking Chinese way too fast just now. It was super hard. I could not understand. I was completely stunned, hearing her claim she missed everything. He didn't know exactly what he should feel. He just let out a very soft sigh. "It is fine if you didn't understand, then let us just drop it completely." He vaguely glossed right over the entire topic. Waiting until they finally arrived below her dorm building, he honestly felt a little bit amused. You see, back in Germany, she was the one walking him to his dorm. Now that they were back in China, he was the guy dropping her off. Honestly, it was a pretty funny twist. "You and I are jumping right in." Fiona smiles at our guy, playing along perfectly. She offers him a glass of wine upstairs, but our MC shakes his head. He drove here, drinking means he is stuck. Fiona is totally ready to tell him. He can sleep over, but then she remembers her new apartment is tiny. Barely 40 square meters with just one bed. She swallows her bold invitation immediately. Instead, she plays it sweet. I will head up, see you tomorrow. Colin simply nods, but notices she is not actually leaving the car. He turns around to look. Meeting those sparkling, completely innocent eyes, he stares back, caught completely off guard by her. His heart definitely skips a beat right there, completely helpless against her charm. He happily replies, see you tomorrow, getting exactly what she wanted. Fiona finally steps out. She dashes straight up the stairs without looking back. Colin feels this bizarre sensation, almost like he just dropped his actual girlfriend off. He chuckles and drives away, but the second Fiona unlocks her apartment door inside, her sweet smile completely vanishes. That gentle, innocent vibe she faked in the car disappears instantly, leaving absolutely zero trace. Total personality flip. She grabs wine from the fridge, pours a large glass, and sways toward the window. The sunset here in China hits completely differently than back in Germany. Outside, older folks are casually strolling around the neighborhood, playing loud music and dancing in the public square nearby. It is a peaceful, unfamiliar vibe she has literally never experienced. Fiona has barely taken a sip when her phone rings. She answers with a totally icy tone. If Colin were here, he would instantly recognize the voice on the other end. It is her direct boss calling all the way from Germany. Miss Fiona, he starts. Are you settling into China? You pulled this wild stunt out of nowhere. I have absolutely no idea how to explain this madness to your mother. Telling her you chased some guy across the globe is insane. Fiona simply lets out a soft, completely shameless laugh. Tell her whatever you want to tell her. Unless you are afraid of my mom storming your house to demand answers about my actual relationship with Colin. The boss goes completely dead silent on the line. He is totally stunned by her sheer audacity right now. After a pause, he numbly asks, so did you catch him? Fiona suddenly remembers that annoying woman who showed up earlier today. Pure coldness flashes in her eyes. Still chasing, she replies, oh, that girl you investigated is named Stella. I want every single piece of dirt on her. Do not miss a detail. Meanwhile, Colin finally makes it home exhausted. After showering, our guy just wants to crash. But guess what? Stella starts spamming his phone like an absolute grim reaper calling. Ringing non-stop, he frowns, rejecting every single call one by one, but seeing she is not going to quit, he gets annoyed and straight up blocks her. Number blocked, peace at last, but you and I know it is never that easy. 5 minutes later, the phone rings again. Annoyed, he is ready to pick up and completely curse them out until he sees his boss on the caller ID. He hits the brakes hard. His angry rant instantly morphs into a super polite greeting. What is up, sir? Calling this late. Did a major contract go wrong? Well, plot twist, his boss opens his mouth and drops a massive bomb. Stella is our top VIP client. Why did you randomly block her number? Colin completely freezes. Let's watch this drama unfold. A wave of resentment hits him, 3 years unseen. And Stella had clearly learned how to use her authority. Naturally, our guy couldn't exactly dump all his messy history with Stella onto his boss. He just grits his teeth. Yes, I understand. I will unblock her right now. The boss hangs up, completely satisfied. Stella must have gotten that notification immediately because her call comes ringing through again. This time, no matter how much he hates it, he has to answer. Stella, what the hell do you want? Can you just say it clearly all at once? Stella's tone is shockingly natural. Not a single hint of a threat. I want you to break up with your current girlfriend. Hearing that, he is so furious he actually laughs. Stella, you bothered me for this long just to say this nonsense. Stella answers without a single shred of hesitation. Yes, he lets out a bitter laugh. Then I will tell you. Right now, not happening. Originally, he avoided using Fiona Dotto to trigger her, but this ridiculous demand is seriously trampling his rationality into the dirt. He fires back. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years. Our relationship is very stable right now. Who knows, we might even get married in the future. Can you please stop sticking your nose into my business? Stella's breathing suddenly grows heavy over the line. It is like she is desperately trying to suppress her emotions. Before you left, you said I was together with Chad. What did that mean? She changes the subject incredibly fast. After hearing him mention marriage, she just has to find a quick excuse to escape. No, he keeps his face completely blank. It didn't mean anything. I already made room for you. You should be with your first love now. Stella's voice suddenly rises a few pitches. After I broke up with you, I have never been with another man, unlike you. Her sentence is half finished, but it is enough for him to guess. He smirks sarcastically. Maybe that status update on Chad's WeChat moments was posted by him on purpose. Maybe the woman's hand in the photo was photoshopped by him too. After all, with their current relationship, now Stella really has absolutely no reason to lie about this. But honestly, so what? Whether she is with Chad or not, it does not matter. 3 years ago, he made his final decision. Now it cannot be changed. I know, he replies indifferently. Then he bluntly states, I will say it again, Stella, we have absolutely no relationship anymore. From now on, whatever man you want to be with has nothing to do with me. I also hope that outside of work, we don't contact each other. After dropping that bomb, he decisively hangs up the phone, having poured out everything in his heart. The heavy, suffocating feeling in his chest seems to lessen quite a bit. Suddenly, his phone receives another text message. It is from Stella. He figures she is just pissed off and sending some harsh, insulting message, but you and I are not ready for this. He unlocks it, finding something with a totally subservient, humble tone. No, we are just dating, not married. He is completely floored. He cannot believe it, reading this crazy text over and over again several times, but no matter what, he does not dare to believe it. This is really a message from Stella. Her intention is absolutely crystal clear. She wants to get back together. Only an absolute idiot wouldn't see what she means. But precisely because he sees it, he is totally horrified. Back when they were together, Colin had rarely seen her this proactive. Stick with me, because taking the initiative to beg for a second chance, that was totally out of character for Stella. His expression shifted continuously, but in the end, he still made his choice to ignore her completely, silently dropping her number straight onto his block list. Maybe she was having a brief lapse of sanity and lost her mind, but Colin hadn't. 10 long years of chasing her had already drained every ounce of his energy. Getting back together, unless he completely lost his mind. He was never going to do that. Meanwhile, Stella sat on her sofa, squirming like she was on hot coals. After sending that desperate message begging for peace, 30 whole minutes passed, but her phone screen didn't show a single reply. Stella rationalized that even if Colin had suddenly gone to shower, 30 minutes was plenty of time to finish, so she took a deep breath and fired off another text. In the chat box, a glaring red exclamation mark popped up. He had blocked her again. Stella's racing heart instantly plummeted, shattering into a million tiny pieces on the floor. She stared blankly ahead. Nothing was in the empty air, yet it felt as if a silhouette was standing there. 3 years after breaking up with Colin, she often felt that someone was right by her side. She knew perfectly well that she was sick, but she refused treatment because she was absolutely terrified this phantom person would vanish from her world forever. At this moment, what she saw before her was Colin wearing those familiar pajamas she knew so well, sitting there typing on a laptop, occasionally glancing right up at her. Why do you keep staring? The old Stella never would have asked that. She was so used to ignoring his eyes, always overflowing with love. But now she desperately wanted to ask Colin, do you still love me? Spoken into the massive room, there was only the painful sound of her own breathing. The illusion of Colin vanished, and absolutely nothing was Left, Stella finally squeezed her eyes shut in pure agony. Her broken heart was overflowing. With sorrow, the next day Colin headed into the law firm he originally planned to continue pushing his current case forward, but he got called into the boss's office. The lab side suddenly ran into an issue. They said they needed a quick extension. On the delivery timeline, the boss looked at Colin hesitantly. He finally opened mouth and said, "Go ask what exactly happened. This case absolutely cannot be delayed. If they need anything and you can help out, just cooperate with them fully." Although the boss phrased it casually, his eyes were dead serious. Cooperate at all. Costs? Colin clenched his fists, feeling a heavy wave of helplessness creeping up inside. Heading over there now, who knows what Stella was thinking? You feel the tension, but for the sake of his job, Colin had no choice. He sighed, opening his mouth to say, "Understood, I will personally pay them a visit." After stepping out of the office, Colin went right back to his desk. Completely expressionless, he opened his phone, pulled up those old documents, tweaked a few minor details, and printed a fresh copy. Holding the freshly minted contract, he grabbed his heavy coat from the chair and walked out the door. It was late autumn and totally freezing outside when Colin arrived at Stella's lab. His face was pale from the cold. He rarely visited. 3 years had passed. Most of the old staff had been totally replaced, to the point where everyone just saw him as some guy from Dexter Law Firm, not the professors. Colin was her ex, that is, until some girl spotted him and literally gasped out loud, her eyes brimming with pure disgust. "Colin, how do you still have the nerve to come looking for Professor Stella?" He let out a cold laugh. Colin recognized her immediately, an old employee from the lab. She definitely knew about his past relationship with Stella. As for why she held such a massive grudge against him, you and I would both love to know that answer. After the girl's aggressive outburst, the atmosphere around them instantly froze. The way everyone glared at Colin carried a heavy dose of judgment, like he had committed some massive, unforgivable crime. He didn't make a move, just memorized every detail instead. Fortunately, Stella quickly stepped out into the hall. The moment she laid eyes on Colin, pure joy lit up her face. He raised an eyebrow. Honestly, he was totally surprised, seeing Stella emerge. The entire crowd completely scattered. The two of them walked straight into Stella's private office. Colin subconsciously took a few extra looks around. He realized she practically lived here 12 hours a day. The room was oddly simple. Against the wall sat a bookshelf packed tight with heavy volumes on physics and mathematics. Most of the books showed clear signs of heavy reading. He pulled his gaze back and stared right at Stella, no wasting time on awkward small talk. He cut straight to the point. "With her, didn't you always want to talk to me? I'm here." He asked if after discussing the contract, they could just continue the business trip agenda. Stella was initially thrilled he came to find her, but hearing Colin say these cold words, her face totally stiffened. The relaxed vibe turned incredibly awkward again. The reason Colin didn't want to talk to her was exactly because of this right here. She was always so freezing cold. If happy, she'd actually speak, but if upset, she made sure absolutely everyone else suffered too. In her own twisted mind, it was a form of subconscious control. She just never realized it herself. "Do you hate me that much? Other than work, is there really nothing else you want to talk about? Like, the real truth about why you went abroad back then?" Stella asked, a flash of deep sorrow crossing her eyes. "Fine." Colin frowned hard. He knew if he didn't clear this up, she would never drop it later. "I will talk," he said completely flatly. "That year, the reason I dumped you was simply because Chad came back to the country." Stella's pupils trembled. She looked totally shocked. "But I heard you only did it because you wanted a quick promotion." "Ha, you and I." Feel that cold laugh. His eyes filled with pure ice. It was so cold it was basically meant to hurt her. "So you actually believed it?" That one sentence left Stella completely speechless. She really had believed that rumor. After all, her ex-Chad had done the exact same thing before. She thought she was being abandoned by a boyfriend all over again. Colin took A deep breath, his expression turning even colder. Stella, I literally promised you that I would stay by your side forever. Remember? Stella's expression instantly froze over. After a heavy silence, she gave a stiff nod. Then he pushed further. I promised I would never leave you just for a promotion. I don't know where you heard this. Ridiculous garbage, but I really don't care, because in the very end you believed. That is the outcome. Colin suddenly remembered that fateful year. There was a super strange text message saying Stella was coming all the way to Germany to find him. Back then, seeing that message, he actually believed it. He even started hoping, if Stella chased him to Germany, how long could he possibly resist? But you and I know the tragic truth. She never showed up. It turned out she swallowed a massive lie. She actually thought he was the one who betrayed her. He nearly laughed out loud, though his eyes burned red with hidden pain. In this exact second, Stella finally realizes she was completely manipulated by Chad. Her fingers grip the desk so hard her knuckles turn white, while her heart absolutely sinks. He never betrayed her. He fled abroad because she completely shattered his heart into a million pieces. So, is there any chance left to fix this broken relationship? Stella looks sick with anxiety. The devastating truth hidden for 3 long years is finally laid bare. The sheer shock hits her so hard she literally forgets how to breathe. It feels like an entire mountain just collapsed straight onto her chest, crushing any hope she had left. Meanwhile, his face remains completely frozen, as he simply holds out a file folder. If the previous contract terms are too heavy, he starts ignoring her pain. I brought a revised version right here for your side. We can drop the margin by 1 point. That is our absolute limit, just strictly business. His tone holds zero warmth. Not a single drop of old affection remains here. Stella's heart is absolutely shredding itself right now, choking on bitter, agonizing regret. She asks, if I had chased you to Germany back then, would you have ever forgiven me? He tightens his grip on the folder, but his face refuses to show any weakness. The moment you repeatedly pushed me aside for Chad, he states, we lost any chance at a future. That unhesitating rejection totally drains the life straight out of Stella's face. In a single second, every ounce of her strength evaporates. She is usually the ice queen, but right now, she looks completely broken and hollow. Staring blankly at the paper, she just takes the contract. Without saying a single word, she grabs the pen, scribbles on the line, and weakly hands it straight back to him. He takes the folder, flips to the signature line, and spots something crazy. That is definitely not her name on the dotted line. Instead, she wrote 3 words, I am sorry. He just shuts his eyes, takes a deep breath, and opens them again. His gaze is like absolute ice. What is this nonsense? If you hate the terms, decline them. Do not waste my paper. His sarcastic bite hits her, but she seems completely numb to the sting. She stays dead silent for a long moment before finally saying, leave the original terms. I do not want your pity. He stares quietly for a bit, then replies, so your company intends to fulfill the original agreement? She just slowly nods. Looking like an absolute ghost, he can barely stand looking at her tragic expression. She looks devastated, acting like he is the one who ruined everything here. We both know she chose Chad first, yet somehow the entire world thinks he dumped her. The sheer audacity makes him grit his teeth. Pausing by the doorway, he turns back around. Next time we meet, drop the victim act. Do not look at me like I broke your heart. We know who the real betrayer is. Clear up this rumor immediately. My personal reputation matters. Without giving her a single second glance, he completely walks out of her life. Stella gasps for air, her face twisting into pure dark rage. She slams her intercom button hard. Everyone in the conference room in 30 minutes. Oh, Chad is about to pay. Hands meeting, no skipping allowed. Stick with me here. Leaving that lab, our guy texted his boss confirming the job was done, then shut his phone. He stopped thinking about work entirely. Right now, his heart just felt incredibly heavy. He honestly thought that marching into Stella's office and laying everything out in the open would Make him feel better, but he never saw this coming, for 3 long years. Stella secretly hated the state of their relationship. This massive misunderstanding had haunted them both from day one, but neither of them was ever willing to talk, except Stella literally could not open up. He had just believed that if he acted totally loyal and held on a little bit longer, he might finally win her over, but he never stopped to ask if she even wanted his sacrifices. Maybe to her, he was always just a passing whim. Right from the start, some fun toy for the afternoon, and right now, maybe she was just used to him, so after running in circles, she still chose him, not for love but pure habit. He was deep in thought when his phone suddenly blared in his hand. 3 big letters lit up the screen: Fiona. His heart violently hammered against his ribs. He had zero clue how to handle this. He hesitated for a second, then picked up. What is it? Fiona clearly did not know what he had just survived. She laughed and said, "What do you mean? It is after work hours now. Obviously, I am asking if you want to go hang out." All right, he sighed. Way too much drama had gone down today. Right now he was drained and just needed a drink to vent, so he did not overthink it and agreed. "Let us meet up." Fiona sounded a bit surprised, but she did not say anything else and happily agreed. He mumbled a quick yes and hung up, sending the night color bar address straight to Lambert. Meanwhile, our girl Stella had literally just stepped out of the lab when Phil dragged her to a club. Phil, with those wide, innocent eyes, no one could tell he was such a heavy drinker. Stella, however, absolutely hated loud, packed places, but Phil asked her, "Do you not want to blow off some steam?" And that actually worked, but right after stepping inside the bar, that idea quickly turned into pure regret. Out on the floor, people were going totally wild, dancing their worries away. Stella just clutched her wine glass, completely focused on downing drink after drink. Honestly, it looked way less like she wanted to relax and more like she just needed to get completely wasted. But before the alcohol could hit, she heard his name. Her hand completely froze and, turning her head, she spotted him. He was wearing a black sweater, his trench coat tossed over a chair, looking handsome right next to Lambert. The two of them were laughing and trashing her name. "You and I know he earned that right." Lambert had heard about the breakup and angrily slammed his hand on the table, making the crowd around them completely flinch. Seriously, how does a woman like Stella still have the nerve to come crawling back for peace? Has she not ruined you enough already? You wasted 10 whole years on her. Honestly, how many decades does a person even get? What right does Stella have treating you exactly like trash? Lambert furiously gritted his teeth. She completely deserves a taste of what it is like to beg for something and get nothing. That is the only way it becomes real karma, making you suffer for a lifetime. Sure, Stella is a huge figure in the physics world. She runs that massive lab, but begging and never getting it. Getting what he meant, he figured she would never taste it in her entire lifetime. Stella just listened quietly. She tilted her head back, downing another glass of wine, absolutely bitter. Our guy didn't even care what was on the table. He just drank glass after glass. After all, those sweet-tasting drinks probably didn't have much alcohol, right? But he totally forgot that those sweet drinks were actually strong, especially mixed cocktails, so very quickly he was completely wasted and slurring. Honestly, you and I can't entirely blame Stella here. Stella totally froze. Her hand subconsciously tightened around the glass, leaning toward him, slowly inching a little closer. He was completely unaware she was there. He answered bluntly, "If you look at me from her perspective, I clearly am no different from a scumbag who suddenly dumped her. It's honestly no different than if one day I came home from work, found the house totally empty of luggage, and my girlfriend just left a breakup text. That's it. I'd be really sad too." He specially emphasized another line, "even though I don't love her." Hearing this, Stella's heart screamed in absolute denial. "I love you very much. It's a pity nobody could hear it." Our guy quietly downed another glass of wine. His mind was already getting super hazy, but you gotta wonder, what the hell is Stella Thinking here, why didn't she notice him when he loved her, but now that he doesn't love her anymore, she comes running back like a lost puppy. Does she have some weird obsession she can't say out loud? Stella nearly choked. The guy was suffocating in that bar. She never expected her actions would make him think in that direction. In an instant, her face flashed red, then dark. It was quite a spectacular sight. Lambert laughed out loud, throwing a casual arm over his shoulder, winking mischievously. Why are you still so curious about her? Could it be you still haven't forgotten her? Stella held her breath, instinctively looking towards his face. What did you say? In this world, the one person he absolutely refuses to make peace with is her. Our guy was drunk, but his harsh words, every single one hit the exact mark. She deserves to grow old alone, married to her precious lab equipment. Stella looked deeply at him, then lowered her head, hiding the endless disappointment and bitterness deep in her eyes. She unconsciously swirled the wine glass. Her hand, because of her stunning appearance, many men nearby were secretly sizing her up. Then, a guy overly confident in his own looks stopped and confidently walked up to her. Can I add your WeChat? He smiled, lighting up his phone screen, but Stella didn't even lift her head, firmly rejecting him completely. The man's expression changed slightly, wanting to say something else. Phil quickly played peacekeeper. It's fine, if she won't add you, I will. Basically the same thing. The guy forced an awkward smile, added Phil's WeChat, and laid out. Phil finally glanced at her and the empty red wine bottles next to her. His eyelid totally twitched. Stella, I took my eyes off you for 1 second and you drank this much. Do you still plan on going to work tomorrow? His voice was so loud the neighboring tables couldn't help but look over at them. Lambert and our guy were no exception. Stella completely froze. She felt his gaze like a burning flame falling onto her, searing hot. She took a huge, deep breath, gathering all her remaining courage. When she looked in his direction, his silhouette was already gone. You and I know that feeling. Stella felt a painful void inside her heart. Those hidden emotions were spilling over. With a hoarse voice, Stella mumbled, I'm feeling pretty drunk. Think I'll head home first. Home already? You want to stick around or leave with me? Phil was busy flirting with another guy. Hearing her, he sighed with major regret. Fine, let's go. If I knew dragging you to this bar would be this incredibly boring, I'd have invited literally anyone else. For once, Stella didn't even argue. She quietly followed behind Phil and headed out, desperately looking all around the bar, hoping to catch one last glimpse of our guy and Lambert. Finally, right by the entrance, Lambert was frantically trying to hail a taxi across the street while our guy stood swaying at the door, completely wasted. One look, and anyone could tell he was utterly trashed. Seeing this, Stella couldn't help but walk right over. Just as he stumbled backward, he leaned directly into her. He totally thought it was Lambert, safely closing his eyes and slurring, let's go home. Stella, that crazy girl is here. We gotta run fast. If we don't, she's gonna catch us. Stella let out a painful, bitter laugh, even absolutely wasted. He was still obsessing over how to escape her. Did he really hate her that badly? Meanwhile, Lambert couldn't get a cab. Visibly annoyed, he turned around and saw this exact scene. You and I are probably just as shocked, he had claimed. He'd completely cut ties with Stella, but right now, he's literally leaning against her with a goofy, drunken grin. Seriously, what kind of terrifying horror movie plot twist was this? Lambert's jaw hit the floor in shock, but Stella not only did she refuse to let go, she instinctively hugged our boy even tighter. Did you manage to get a car? Lambert honestly shook his head. In this insane traffic, hailing a taxi was literally impossible. Stella just nodded, wrapping her arms tightly around his waist, because if she didn't hold on firm, his wandering hands would cause some serious trouble. Lambert was in absolute awe, getting groped in broad daylight. Yet Stella somehow kept a completely calm, natural expression, but only she truly knew that the fire she'd kept hidden for 3 whole years had sparked into a raging inferno. Trying desperately to suppress those wild desires, she quickly pulled out her phone while booking a designated driver. She figured, well, since they couldn't catch a cab anyway, they might as well take her car. I called a driver, he'll be arriving shortly. Lambert hesitated for a quick second, just as he was about to politely decline. Our main character suddenly hugged Stella tight, whining like a baby. Why are you just getting here? I waited for you at the bar forever. The second those drunken words slipped out, all three people there went completely rigid. Phil and Lambert totally froze in sheer awkwardness, but Stella just froze in stunned silence. She didn't say a single word back, she just hugged him even tighter. Seeing this, Lambert shook his head helplessly and kept his mouth shut, true to her word. The designated driver arrived super fast. The group of four piled into the car. Phil rode shotgun while the other three squeezed together in the back. With great difficulty, they finally settled in, but our guy started acting up again, sleepily hugging Stella's neck and blabbering nonstop. My head hurts so bad. Lambo, did you? No, Stella gently pulled him down, using her soft hand to pat his back. Her movements were a little clumsy, but carried such genuine tenderness. Bear with it. Little longer, okay? I have some hangover medicine. Once we get home, I'll help you. All right, look closely. Colin obediently leans on Stella's shoulder. He nods, frowns a little, and just falls completely asleep. Lambert clicks his tongue. He finally got exactly what he wanted. This blind idiot is totally blackout drunk, so dragging him to your place is definitely out. Just dump him in some random hotel, but Stella immediately shoots that down. Drunk people need someone watching them. If they throw up and choke, it actually gets super dangerous. Lambert is completely stunned. He honestly has not even considered that at all. He freezes up, but wait, aren't you two broken up? Stella shifts her movements, getting a bit wider. Colin stays totally still, completely ignoring the massive bumps. Stella, stop moving. He cannot sleep right. Lambert curses under his breath. With absolutely zero options left, he just has to back down. Besides, because you and I know, whenever his buddy gets drunk, Stella is the absolute only person in his brain, acting like this while still claiming he does not like her. Talk about a stubborn mouth. Two ridiculously stubborn people somehow ending up together. Yeah, truly a match made in heaven. Lambert feels a massive headache coming on. Too lazy to care about their couple drama, he hurries the driver to the address. He says, I do not care anymore. Drop me off at my house first. My head is spinning. Stella naturally agrees. The driver drops Phil and Lambert off first and then finally takes Colin home. Stella supports him, step by painful step, walking back to the house they used to share 3 whole years. She never expected that when he left back then he would be gone for 3 whole years. All this time she fantasized about him coming back, so much so that she did not even dare change a single piece of furniture, even those old sticky notes from back then that got totally soaked and lost their stick. She actually glued them back onto the wall, one by one. The second the door opens, Stella looks down, gently placing a soft kiss right on his cheek. She whispers hoarsely, Colin, we are home. He is so groggy he barely hears what she says. He only vaguely catches those 2 words, we are home. Then he catches a whiff of the most familiar scent from his memories. In an instant, he completely melts. Like a clingy silkworm, he wraps himself entirely around Stella. My head hurts. That single sentence makes Stella's logic completely totter, right on the edge of collapse. She takes a deep breath, looking down at his trembling hands. No, she absolutely refuses to let him go. She does not know if, once he wakes up, he will scold her for taking advantage of him while unconscious. But what she wants to do right now is exactly this. She desperately wants to take care of him, just like he used to always take care of her. Just let her take care of him once. So she lays him down gently on the bed. Grabbing a warm towel, she slowly, bit by bit, wipes his face and hands. In this exact moment, all his old nagging words flood right back into her mind. After wiping his face completely clean, she stares down at his incredibly familiar face, just like that, looking so vividly real right in front of her. Eyes, this is the exact guy who disappeared for 3 whole years, totally torturing her. Every single day, Stella just cannot hold back anymore, planting another gentle kiss on him, her. Warm breath fans right across his face. Just as she leans in to kiss him again, she sees him subconsciously frown. Like a harsh bolt of lightning, that tiny movement instantly calls back all her rationality. Stella suddenly sits back down on the edge of the bed, panting heavily, keeping a very safe distance now. Her wide eyes remain completely fixed on him. After a really, really long time, she finally whispers, "I am sorry. I am so sorry for everything. I'm so sorry for neglecting you when we were together. I'm sorry for not understanding my own feelings. I clearly loved you already, but I still lied to myself, parading another guy right in front of you. I'm sorry for everything I did. I'm sorry for all the hurtful words. Maybe this is the absolute last time I can be this close to you. Maybe we'll never see each other again, but I still want to say I'm sorry." Stella bolts from the room, having finally poured out her entire heart. This ice queen who usually wouldn't flinch, even if the sky fell down, actually has red, teary eyes right now. She turns and leaves. The room falls dead silent. It's just our guy, fast asleep on that bed, but look closely. A single, crystal-clear tear slips right from the corner of his eye. Early the next morning, he wakes up with a splitting headache. He looks around and bolts totally upright. Wait, this is Stella's bedroom. The exact room he slept in for 5 solid years. He massages his temples hard. But he can't remember a damn thing about last night. He only remembers going to a bar to drink with Lambert, then the two of them cursed Stella out terribly. But then what? What happened next? Why on earth is he waking up in Stella's house? He instinctively checks his clothes, few still fully intact. Only then does he breathe a huge sigh of relief and get out of bed. He carefully pushes the door open, only to see Stella, someone who is usually so pampered, curled up pitifully on the sofa. She's frowning, looking like she's having a super restless sleep. He watches her for a second, then heads back into the bedroom to grab a blanket. Now, you and I both know it's been 3 years, so the blanket shouldn't be in its old spot. But when he opens that drawer, the familiar layout instantly hits him, and right there along with them are those familiar sticky notes. He freezes, completely staring blankly at the slightly faded little notes. After 3 long years, they're still obediently sitting in their original places. His nose suddenly stings. Finally, he picks up the blanket and gently drapes it right over Stella. She's still fast asleep, carrying a faint smell of alcohol. He instinctively tries to walk away, but his wrist is instantly grabbed by her. "Don't go." His heart totally skips a beat, thinking Stella had woken up. He looks down, but her eyes are clearly still shut tight, frowning yet clutching his wrist in an absolute death grip. Whatever she's dreaming about right now. Her mouth keeps murmuring, "Don't go." Well, no matter what, he can't just leave her here like this, but her grip is way too tight. He can't just tell her to let go, so he leans close to Stella's ear and whispers gently, "I'm not going. Can you let go first?" Stella goes rigid, then almost like she heard him, she hesitantly releases her grip. His heart is seriously burning with anxiety. He sighs, stands up, and steps right into the kitchen. And there they are, the sticky notes he had put up, all perfectly aligned in their old spots. "If you and I could say the ones in the closet were just a coincidence, then this massive wall of them right in front of him can absolutely not be called a coincidence anymore." Stella genuinely hasn't torn down a single one. His eyes gradually turn red, looking from afar at Stella sleeping on that sofa. He doesn't know what to think. Suddenly her phone rings. Stella instinctively frowns, totally startled. He hurriedly runs over to her. Without even checking the caller ID, he answers. "All right, let's get into it." Colin answers the phone, whispering, "Keep it down, Stella's sleeping." As soon as he says that, the guy on the line freezes completely. Then comes a cold, sarcastic chuckle. Right away, Colin knows something is totally off. He pulls his phone away to check the screen. Shockingly, it is Chad calling. Out of all people, a call from him right now. completely unexpected. Realizing how his earlier words sounded, Colin's face instantly flushes a bright, embarrassed red. I didn't mean it like, Chad cuts him off with a flat, icy tone. Congratulations, Chad mutters coldly. You still ended up with Stella after everything. Every word Colin wants to say just chokes in his throat, pure silence. Chad doesn't even care, just rambling on. 3 years ago, that WeChat post. It was entirely fake. I photoshopped the whole thing. Colin is absolutely stunned. Why on earth is Chad bringing this up now? Then comes another laugh. A bitter, self-deprecating sound. Because of last night, Stella frantically called me. Countless times, she was so terrified you were going to completely misunderstand. Clearly, you don't even like her much anymore. Running back now is too late. Having all their toxic baggage exposed like this, awkward, suffocating, and brutally raw. Things obviously weren't always this messy between them, not even close. Back in the very beginning, Colin and Chad were incredibly close, best buds. Hanging out constantly, taking long walks, gossiping like crazy, and catching movies together. So when exactly did everything start going off the rails? It all started when Colin's attention first shifted over to Stella. The three became good friends. People kept saying Stella and Chad were destined. A perfect match made in heaven. Colin started feeling incredibly insecure, especially when he finally built up the courage to confess the truth to his best friend. He liked Stella, but the very next day, Chad showed up holding her hand. Right in front of Colin's face, his entire world completely collapsed that day. Before that betrayal, Chad and Stella were just friendly, zero romantic vibes. So why would Chad suddenly fall madly in love with her out of nowhere? Colin thinks it, then bluntly asks aloud. He knows this might actually be his very last phone call with Chad. He desperately wants to finally solve this painful 8-year mystery once and for all. Chad stays completely silent. Then another chilling laugh echoes, and Chad drops an absolute bombshell on him. Because I was deeply jealous of you, Colin. When they first met, Chad was known as the perfect, well-behaved golden child in every single relative's eyes. He studied like his actual life depended on it, just to hear adults say. Sure, he is smart, but his social skills are terrible. Finding a wife later is gonna be tough. Right then, Chad realized a harsh truth about himself. His perfect grades meant nothing against Colin's natural charm and effortless sweet-talking personality. He envied Colin from day one, forcing himself to play the loyal sidekick. He found Colin's hobbies insanely childish, but to steal his charismatic strengths, he felt he could endure the torture. But the longer he stuck around Colin, the deeper his toxic jealousy grew. Why could Colin make friends so fearlessly anyway? You and I both know the type. Whatever Colin wanted, whining got it. His parents bought him everything. Even massive mistakes barely earned him a slap. Why the hell did he, Chad, always lose to Colin? Let us trace this back. Chad was completely blinded by jealousy, so when he heard Colin confessing his feelings to Stella, some twisted impulse pushed Chad to approach her. You are smart, he told her. In this world, nobody fits you better than me. I will support your career. Honestly, I do not care if you love me. Our families and social circles align perfectly. Right then, Stella was just sitting there. Flipping through a math textbook, Chad recognized instantly it was highly advanced knowledge. Meant for graduate students, so what exactly do you want? She asked, the words completely caught in Chad's throat. Breathing heavily, he finally forced it out. Let us be together. Honestly, Stella was a bit strange herself. Chad had completely prepared his heart for a harsh rejection. He absolutely never expected her agreement. From now on, we are dating, she said. Do exactly what you promised. Shocked, Chad stared completely blankly at Stella. Looking deep into her eyes, there was absolutely zero shred of romance, yet she acted remarkably gentle to the point of pure emptiness. Chad got exactly what he wanted, but he stayed miserable, so he bolted when Stella finally came. Tracking him down, for him, this was actually the most liberating period of his life. Did you not promise me, after graduating, you would marry me? Chad watched the woman. Standing right there, feeling completely lost inside his own head. Did he actually love? Stella may be right. After all, this girl flawlessly checked off every single standard he held for a future wife. No, he did not love her. Then why did he desperately want to steal her from our main guy Colin? He asked a bizarre question. Stella, did you know that Colin likes you? The very second he asked, deep inside her eyes, a massive wave of emotion flickered. She tried fighting it down. She was totally stunned, maybe even slightly panicked. Chad instantly pieced together everything. Chad was not the only one stalling things. You and I know Colin was waiting, so Stella naturally returned home. A few months passed, and Chad saw something on Colin's feed, a picture of Colin and Stella holding hands, officially dating. Chad's heart just instantly twisted. The dark jealousy he had so carefully buried erupted all over again. For 5 entire years, acting like a complete lunatic, he stalked Colin's internet pages. If Colin felt happy, Chad felt miserable, seeing any photos of the happy couple traveling somewhere. Chad would obsessively travel there too. Every single thing Colin did for Stella, Chad memorized flawlessly, every single little detail, until 5 years later, the second Chad came back and ran into Colin again. Colin saw Stella standing beside Chad. Pure pain flashed across Colin's eyes, and this made Chad incredibly happy. Chad felt a heavy pain in his chest, but totally faked it. Colin, long time no see. From that exact second, Chad swore to steal Stella back from our guy's hands. But stick with me, things did not go smoothly for Chad. After dating Colin for 5 years, Stella's heart had changed into something completely unpredictable. She honestly could not separate real love from just looking good on paper, even when Chad intentionally manipulated her feelings, constantly throwing his past love right in her face. Stella refused to dump Colin and run back like the old days. Chad seriously thought he was facing absolute failure. He never predicted that Colin would be the one going far away abroad. Hearing this breaking news, Chad ended up laughing and crying at the same time. Honestly, the guy looked exactly like a total psychopath. Remembering that old public photo of the couple holding hands, he frantically dug it up, covering it with his hand. After hesitating for 3 whole days, he uploaded it online. The second he hit confirm, restricting that photo so only Colin saw it, Chad completely broke down. He felt like the most despicable guy alive, so doing what he always did, Chad ran away. He hid inside his safe little shell, ignoring reality until Stella